Hello.
Hi.
I'm always
Hi,
so
everybody.
excited. Yeah. The chat is already on fire. I love that.
I love that too. I know I'm getting the chat. I was like, oh, I have a different way to put it where I can see it bigger without my
Yay.
glasses.
Yeah.
Hello, Miles. So fun that you're here tonight.
Oh, Miles wanted to be here. And also there are French fries and chocolate milkshake in this office. So, you know.
Yeah. I probably would want to sit on your lap too. Miles is getting us pumped up for this Friday evening.
Hi, Miles.
Create with us. Oh gosh, yeah, all the hi Miles.
Oh my goodness. Hi, everybody. We're so excited to be here with you tonight.
So excited. So excited.
So excited. Yeah.
I will just do a very brief intro of why you're here tonight, because some of you just might not know and just happened upon us. But welcome you guys to our Create With Us. These are mini classes that we host several times throughout the year. And it's just a fun time for us to get together and craft together and chit chat and just have tons of fun together. We always announce the details for Create With Us early so that if you do want to create along with us, we always have a downloadable handout where you'll be able to see the cards and any prep work to do. We also share coloring guides. So again, this can be a time that you're creating with us, or it can just be a time that you're chit-chatting with us, or maybe right now you're just chit-chatting and you're going to create later. Whatever you would like to do. We just are so excited that you're here with us tonight. I know that Shari and Rebecca are in the chat, so they'll be posting links for you guys throughout the evening. Again, if you don't have the downloadable handout for tonight yet, definitely make sure you grab that because it's an awesome free resource that you guys can use for inspiration in the future. And by the way, I'm Jen Shirkus. Nice to see you.
And I am Kelly Marie Alvarez, and I'm so thrilled to be here. And this is my little guy, Miles, and he's really thrilled to be here. So we are so excited. Excited to be crafting. And I'm going to learn about watercoloring, Miles, and then I'll teach you how to watercolor next week.
Ooh, and maybe you'll send something to Auntie Jenny.
Oh, maybe we send her another card, huh?
Yeah, I actually.
Okay.
Actually, hey, Miles, look at what I have right here on my desk.
That's what you said, Auntie Jenny, kiddo.
Do you remember? It's sitting right here in a special place. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, just making sure. Okay. All right. Kelly, do you want to chat about anything before we get started?
I do. I'm actually gonna have Miles is gonna go see Mike, and then I'm gonna be right.
I also just wanted to let you guys know that my friend Josie is here behind the scenes in my studio space. We thought that there was going to be a way for her to kind of be on camera. I think after a long week of teaching, she's probably glad to not be on camera. But if you hear any noises in the background or any giggling, that is Josie. And for those of you guys that don't know, she works part-time for me. So she is spending her teacher or school vacation week here on the Cape with me, where we're going to be working. So it's really funny because everybody's like, what fun things are you going to do on your spring break? And she's like, I'm going to the Cape to work. And everybody's like, okay. But we went to college together. We've been friends forever. And even when we are doing the worst tasks possible, we still have a ton of fun together. So yay. You're getting lots of hellos, Jose.
Okay.
And she is, and I made her a kit last night, so she'll be creating along with us as well. So awesome.
With all my stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Do you see?
Yeah, we can see you. There you go. Yeah, see you right there. So I wanted to talk to you guys about a special Garden Mouse event that we've been doing. I don't know if you guys have heard something about what we've been doing, but we have this really cute stamp set available at our favorite independent brick and mortar stores with a qualifying lawn fawn purchase. And this is the Garden Mouse stamp set. It is so super cute. And we are thrilled to be partnering.
And the dice too.
Oh yeah, and the dice too. The dice too. And Miles has been creating with this stamp set. So at your favorite local store, they have this available for purchase. And then this is a free gift with purchase. So you can get the dies too right away, which we don't normally have for a gift of purchase. So that's really awesome. And this is such a great way to partner with these incredible independent brick and mortar stores. And we have a store locator that Rebecca and Shari will link for you in the comments, where you can see all the participating stores that we have out there. And we are so excited. It looks like somebody asked if there'll be dies. So Miles had just shown that we will have these. These are available for purchase at your favorite local store. And then, of course, the Garden Mouse stamp set. And I wanted to show you the card that Miles made with Garden Mouse.
Oh, my God. So cute.
That's so cute. Yeah, you can see it. There you go. What do you think?
Do you see how the plant is going? And then there's a little cup behind the plant, and the mud, it's just blocking a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh. The mud is blocking it a little bit.
Yeah, Miles is really great.
And then what's that right there?
That's the little mud there.
And look at she's watering that little
and
plant.
Then
it's confusing. It's confusing if it's gonna come in the cup or the mud.
Yeah.
It's pretty confusing, right?
It's a little confusing, but you explained it so well. It's not confusing anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it looks like a lot of people have been discovering brick and mortar stores close to them that they didn't even know about, which is amazing. You want to see this card too? Yeah.
I absolutely have to say, Kelly, I've been following all this chat online, and I love the stories where people have found new stores or made new friends at stores. We've had like lawn fawn fans both shopping at the same time and becoming friends. Like, there's been such fun little stories being shared on social media. I love it.
I love it so much. It's been so cool. And it's such a fun set to create with. And I like that it works really, really cute with a lot of things from the spring release, like the greenhouse that we used here. I think the flower garden backdrop's obviously perfect because it's a cute little gardening mouse. Or you can combine her with the veggie happy mice and create even more scenes that are like with the cute, everyone can be now growing flowers. So I just think it's just so cute and so much fun. And like I said, we've been thrilled to hear about everyone finding their local store or heading over to say hi. And all throughout the next week or so, we're going to be featuring all of the stores on our social media and all our Instagram. The house is in the background because she's watering the plants in front of it. Yeah. And so we have just had such a blast hearing about everyone visiting their stores. Make sure to share and take a picture at your store when you go. Share it with us. And we have a hashtag LF Garden Mouse. You can use that. And we're going to be featuring all of these stores on our social media. And we already have done one of our news broadcasts, and we have many more to come. So you guys, I think you're going to love them. And it's so fun to get to know these incredible store owners.
Oh my gosh. It's just been really fun. It's like just another way to like build our communities and just discover new places to go find more supplies that we just always need. I love it.
And also amazing resources like classes and events. These stores do the coolest things. So when you go, make sure you go and also ask the stores about what cool events they might have coming up too. All right. And I'm going to be right back 1 second. I'm just going to give one big hug. I'll be right back.
No worries. All right. So I am going to flip the screen. Hold on 1 second. I'm always, finagling over here with technology. Let's see here. All right. There we go. So you guys are going to be able to see my desk and my hands, and then you'll also be able to see Kelly Marie and I throughout the evening. So I am so excited. This is a little bit of a different Create With Us. In all of our other Create With Us's, we usually start with our coloring of all of our fun little critters and images. But this time we're actually going to start with our watercoloring. And if you guys don't already follow me on social media or through my website, you might not know that I have a teeny tiny, massive obsession with distress watercolor pencils. I love them so much. You guys can actually tell just by looking at my sets and how loved they are. And I hope that tonight, maybe this is something new for you guys, or maybe you purchased the Distress Watercolor pencils and you haven't played with them yet. I'm hoping after tonight, you'll be inspired to play with them because they really are just so fun and there's just so much that you can do with them. However, I do want to mention, and I mentioned it in the handout, that you can also watercolor with your regular Distress ink pads or your Distress oxides. They're gonna, your veggies are gonna look a little bit different than mine, and I will give you a demo of how to watercolor with both of these, but they will look a little bit different than if you were to watercolor with the Distress watercolor pencils, but that is totally okay. And that's part of being creative. Everything doesn't need to be identical. And I really encourage you guys to just use what you have. And again, if you just have, Distress inks, use those tonight. And maybe after tonight, you'll be enabled to want some Distress watercolor pencils. You never know, right? All right. So I have, so when Distress watercolor pencils first came out, there were just 3 sets. And then just at the beginning of this year, they came out with the additional 3 sets. So if you're familiar with the Distress line, now all the colors have a watercolor pencil. And I have organized all of mine into just a rainbow order because why not, right? And the way that I have my cases on my desk right now is actually how I keep them 99% of the time when I'm working with them. I keep them stacked just like this, kind of offset, because I tend to use these like a palette, and you'll see that in a little bit. So they don't take up a lot of space, and I'm able to work with all the colors very easily. So when I designed my cards for tonight, I already had my sets all mixed in. Like I don't have it memorized what's in set 1, what's in set 2. So I used a bunch of different colors, and I'm pretty sure they're from all 6 sets. But I want to let you know that every set has been curated in a really good way where you have a decent rainbow variety per set. So you don't need all the sets. You might want all the sets, but you don't need them. And so tonight, if you only have 1 set, that is totally okay. And just remember, if I'm using a yellow, pick the yellow from your set. If I'm using an orange, pick the orange from your set. Again, use what you have, and you can always add to your collection later if you find it's something that you really like and you really enjoy. I don't want anybody to feel like it's this whole new like investment or whatever. I will say, I think the sets are around $25. And I have been using mine since they came out a lot. And most of you guys know peacock feathers and salvage patina are my favorite colors. But like, there's still a lot of them left. And I literally use these almost every day. So they're a really, really good value, and they really will last you a very long time. So tonight I'm going to be working on Distress watercolor cardstock. Hold on one second. I actually meant to grab. So yeah, perfect. So I tend to work on Distress watercolor cardstock. This is really the only watercolor cardstock that I ever use. And the reason why is because I just know how it works. And that might sound silly, but every different kind of watercolor paper that you buy they all have kind of their own properties and they kind of react differently. So I like to just stick to one kind of watercolor paper so that I can just become very comfortable and familiar with how watercolors work on them. I also think that it's just really easy to find. I know Lawn Fawn is now stocking it because I'm slightly obsessed with it. But it's a decent price point. It's a nice bright white watercolor cardstock. It has a textured side and a smooth side, which is really nice if you want to stamp. And again, I just feel like if you work with distressed watercolor cardstock tonight, and then a week from now, you pull out a random watercolor cardstock out of your stash and you get frustrated because it might just not be working how you remembered it worked tonight. It's because you're using a different paper. And there's nothing wrong with any of the other kind of papers out there. I just like to be familiar with what I'm using because I just know the results I'm going to get. And then the other thing I just wanted to preface, and I kind of say this a lot in my watercolor classes, is a lot of the times when we talk about watercoloring as paper crafters, we get really nervous because watercoloring is technically a fine art, right? We can go to a museum and see a watercolor painting on the wall. We know amazing, famous watercolor artists, and so the second we hear watercoloring, we kind of tense up and we're like, oh no, I can't do that because I'm not artistic. And I hope after tonight, you'll kind of relax on that a little bit. And I would just remind yourself to be kind to yourself. Watercoloring does not have to be this advanced technique. It does not have to be complicated. And everybody that's joining us tonight and watching the replay can watercolor. And everybody's watercoloring looks different. And sometimes my watercoloring looks different from day to day. It's very similar to ink blending or even coloring with your alcohol-based markers. So, but just like with anything new that you're trying out, you definitely just want to practice. I know the more that I use these, the more comfortable I become with them, and the more fun I'm having because I'm not worried about the outcomes so much. So as we get into it tonight, I expect that there will be a lot of questions. Feel free to put the word question in all caps before it. I will do my best to look up, and I know Kelly will be helpful in kind of asking out questions if it's specific to the class, but we still will be doing chit-chatting tonight as well, because that's part of the fun of these Create With Us's, not just me blabbering away about techniques. But I do just want to quickly mention, and I'll mention it again later in the evening, if you are interested in learning more about distress watercolor pencils, and maybe you did purchase them for this event and you had a blast, or you want to learn some more and become more comfortable with them, I actually do have an online technique class. So we're not making any finished cards or anything like that, and you don't need any special supplies besides one set of watercolor pencils. And I want to let everybody know that I am offering a discount off of that class. So you can get 20% off of the Distress Technique watercolor pencil class. The code is LF-distress, and I'll have the code work until April 27th. So if you're not with us live and you're catching on replay, you can still partake in that discount. It's a really fun class. I launched it last year. Many, many people have taken it and have enjoyed it. You get access to tutorial videos. You get access to an amazing handout. I think it's like 30 pages long because, again, I'm obsessed. And they are just so fun. So I'm kind of like, my motto is like to get everybody to play with these and have a blast. I do see a question. Can you buy replacement pencils? So trust me, my Peacock Feathers and Salvage Patina wish the answer was yes. At this time, the answer is no. There aren't replacement pencils. However, there are still fairly new in, you know, for Ranger to be producing. So I don't see, maybe someday there will be replacement pencils available, but right now there isn't.
Well, the good thing to note, Jen, is how much you use them, and even your
Yes.
favorite color. Like, you still have a lot of pencil left.
Yes. I also
Yeah.
do some design projects for Tim Holtz. So I got these pencils before they even came out. So, and I want to say this spring is the 3rd year. I think it's the 3rd year. Yeah, they came out. Well, actually, I got them 3 years ago this spring. They came out in the fall. So, yeah, and I use them a lot, you guys. And I will tell you, because I'm getting low, I find myself trying different color combos that I might not do because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to use my peacock feathers. And so I'll play in with a different blue. Like I was using broken china. I have a fun card coming up for the Lawn Fun blog where I used all broken china. And I was like, oh, I really like this blue. I forgot I liked this blue. So yeah. Let's see.
I know.
Yay.
I think the only other question we've had so far is who's the dog? Because we have a puppy here today. We've got all the dogs and kids and puppies and everything today. But Rebecca got a brand new puppy. He's what, 12 weeks old?
Yeah, 12 weeks.
Yeah. And his name is Whiskey, and he is the sweetest little guy.
Oh my gosh. Let's
Got it,
see.
Lon.
Oh, stop it.
I mean, come on. Look at this guy.
Oh my gosh. So cute.
Supposedly he's crazy when he gets home, but we only ever see a calm puppy here, so none of us believe it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he looks so chill. And you guys might have just saw me give like a shocked face to Josie because she's over here getting all the love-ins from Jack, which is huge. So huge. Oh yeah, all the love-ins. I love it.
Thank you so much for the coupon code. So
yay,
you guys should definitely take advantage of that because that's such a cool class.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I'm happy. Again, it's more just me wanting everybody to love Distress Watercolor pencils as much as I do. All right. So we are going to get started. And I thought the first thing that I will do is do a quick demonstration on how you can watercolor with your ink pads, like I mentioned. And then I'll give a little bit of a demonstration of watercoloring with the pencils, just kind of before we dive into it. So I just have a cup of water, and I tend to just use 1 cup of water. I'm not really a watercolor purist. And trust me, it gets really grungy, and I still use it. It's okay. And I like to just use a paintbrush. I tend to not use a water brush with water in the barrel. And the only reason why is I have a hard time controlling the water that comes out of the one in the barrel, because sometimes if you squeeze too hard, more water comes out, or you don't squeeze enough. And so I really just like to use a paintbrush. And I'll share with you guys my trick of how I know how much water is on my brush as we get into it. That's really the trick of watercoloring, if you want to use that word, is just learning how to control the water. And I say control with air quotes because all my type A people out there that I love so much, you really can't control watercoloring. So you do have to have a little freedom with it and let a little bit of it go. But there are some tricks for you to be able to kind of get the results that you want to get. So when I am watercoloring with ink pads, and if I were to watercolor, I would watercolor with Distress, regular Distress or Oxide. I took a half a sheet of cardstock and I just laminated it, and this will become my palette. If you don't have that, you could use packaging from your Distress watercolor.
That's what I'm showing. So this is like any of our Lawn Fawn's big, the bigger dies, like the interactive backups. I just save the packaging. I've had this thing for like 10 years.
Such a good idea.
Put a white piece of white cardstock in, and then I just used my scissors and I trimmed off the like hang tabby part.
Perfect.
And I've had it forever and still use it. So you don't even need if you don't have a laminator, you can do that. And you're recycled.
Recycled. Love it. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your ink pad, and I'm going to take my regular Distress, and I'm going to just press and twist, and it's going to leave some ink. Basically, we're using this like a palette because it's non-porous, so the ink is going to bead up. And then I'm just going to take a Distress Oxide, just so you guys can see the difference, and just twist. And so now I have kind of pools of ink that will become my palette. Now, the one thing, and I have to say, oh,
Jen, just so, and this, we're just demonstrating how you could do these similar techniques with the Distress inks or Distress Oxide, but then later you'll be showing us actually how to use the pencils.
Oh yeah, this is just a brief demonstration because I did, I think I put in the handout, and I've kind of been mentioning, like, I didn't want anybody to just go out and buy the watercolor pencils not knowing if they were going to like them or not.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming a lot of you have regular Distress and or oxides. So I wanted you to still be able to participate tonight and then kind of see what the Distress watercolor pencils are all about. And then maybe you'll be able to want to buy some.
Perfect. I just want to make sure my type A self was like,
yeah, no. And in the handout, I did kind of show, I watercolored the carrot with regular Distress and Distress Oxide. So that's in your handout too. So you'll have that. But basically, and I used to do this a lot before Distress watercolors were around, I would watercolor with regular Distress inks a lot. I'm doing it a little bit less now because I just love the pencils so much. So once you have your ink on your palette, whatever that palette is, you can just go in with a wet brush, and I would just do some strokes just to kind of get a feel. More water is going to be a lighter color and going to flow a lot easier. Less water is going to be a more intense color, and it might even get a little scratchy and it might not flow really well. So you'll have to add a little bit more water to your brush to kind of move it around. You can build up your layers, so I can go back in and add some more on the left side if I want to add in a shadow. You can clean your brush and go in with a clean brush and just kind of blend that line out, similar to what we do with alcohol-based markers, okay? And you can do the same exact thing with Distress Oxides. Now, Distress Oxides are a dye pigment fusion, meaning they have dye ink and pigment ink in them. So Distress Oxides are going to be a lot creamier and a lot more opaque. So a lot of times in my classes, I'll mention like, oh, don't use Distress Oxides because we want that translucent property. Watercoloring, you can definitely use them. It's just you're going to have to water them out a lot more to get it to a translucent property. Hopefully this makes sense and I'm not complicating things.
Well, we do have a good question here, which is, can lawn fawn inks be used? And I'll let you explain more, but yes, they definitely can be used. Our colors are water-based, unless it's jet black, the ones that work with the alcohol markers. But yes, you can use those as well. So that's what you have. You can do this technique too. They all have slightly different properties, but the same idea works.
Yeah, so you can use lawn fawn inks, the colored inks. I will just mention the fluidity of the lawn fawn inks is a little bit less than Distress, and that's not a bad thing. It's just if you're used to watercoloring with one versus the other, you're probably going to notice a little bit of a difference. Distress inks are not your typical water-based dye inks. They're more water reactive inks. So they just have their own kind of property, but it doesn't mean you can't use lawn fawn inks. You just kind of have to work them a little bit more to get the color to kind of flow, which isn't bad. None of it's bad. And again, I love to like encourage you guys to use what you have. So this bottom one here, I just did with the carrot lawn fawn ink.
Which looks really pretty too. They're all, I like that they're all, it's so like a pretty. Different, yeah. It depends on whichever one you like.
For sure.
And someone's asking if you can use Distress Oxide to ink up lawn fawn stamps. And you can, although Distress Oxide inks won't behave the same way because they're a different kind of ink, but you can use them to ink up our stamps.
Yeah, actually, Distress Oxides stamp really nicely because of that pigment property. And if you have a more solid stamp, I like to use my Distress Oxides because of that pigment property. They stamp really beautifully, actually.
And then another question is, what size brush? I didn't mean to keep interrupting you, Jen.
Oh,
but
no,
I know
I absolutely love the questions. So this is a number 4 round brush. And I also have right here in my cup that I use a lot is a number 2 round brush. I believe Lawn Fawn, you guys carry the Ranger brushes in your shop, right?
I believe so.
The set of brushes. I believe you guys do.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
They were
That-
in stock. We ordered more, and if they'll be here.
They'll be here soon. If they're not
Yeah.
in
If they're
stock,
not in
we're getting
stock-
them soon. Yeah.
If they're
So
not in stock-
Ranger has a really good set of brushes. I want to say it's like 10 brushes for $7, and they're an amazing quality. Like, I actually use mine really hard and heavy, and they last a really long time. I've just really gotten used to these inexpensive brushes, and they're always in my cup. And for those of you guys that don't know, most of my house is not unpacked yet. So I don't have the Ranger brushes to share with you, but this is a number 4 round brush and a number 2 round brush. And I know both of those are included in the Ranger set as well. 7 brushes for $7. Look at me telling all the lies. All right. So some of you might wonder if you can do all of this with your ink pads, why would you want watercolor pencils? Well, one, we're paper crafters and we want everything, right? But 2, the difference between the pencils and the inks is, I think, the intensity of the pigment. So you're going to get a lot more color and be able to get a lot more variety of color with one pencil. And I also think you have a lot more ability to have control, which, again, back to my type A crafters, which I know a lot of you are. Hopefully your ears are perking up. I find you can have a lot more control pulling the pigment off of the pencils versus using an ink pad palette. And that's, again, just my from my playing and experimenting with them. So let me grab my brush again. So I talked to you guys about controlling your water, and I like to use a paintbrush versus a water brush. And the reason why, like I said, is with a water brush, we're not sure how much water is coming out of the brush. And so with a paintbrush, you guys are probably like, well, I don't know how much water is on my paintbrush. And you'll see me do it tonight, even without me mentioning it. But what I often do is I'll dip my brush in my water cup, and in my mind, depending on what I'm about to color, I'm going to know whether I want a lot of water, a medium bit of water, or a little bit of water. And that's something you'll learn over time as you're creating. But when I dip my brush in the water cup, if I want just a medium bit of water, I usually will brush it off on the side a little bit. But then what I do is I actually touch it to the back of my hand. And it's funny, after like a session of coloring, I'll see like little dabs of like color on my hand. But by that sense of touch, you're able to tell how much water is on your brush much better than your sense of, your sight, and much better than just guessing. So I'll put my water brush or my paintbrush in my water, and I just touch it, and I'll be able to tell if it has a lot of water, a little water, or a medium amount of water. And I know that sounds really silly, but it's just something I've been doing for a long time. And just try it. And if you think I'm still crazy, that's okay too. I love that Shari put up the poll, are you a type A crafter? I gotta vote.
I actually put that one up. And what I loved about it was more highly type A at the beginning, because type A people were like, I gotta answer the poll.
I was like, I just said, I'm like, I gotta vote because I'm not type A, so I gotta make sure I get my voice in there before.
And then I also wanted to say that that Scrappy Chic is in the comments, which is one of our amazing independent brick and mortar stores that we were talking about earlier. So thank you so much for hanging with us tonight, Scrappy Chic.
Hello, Scrappy Chic. Scrappy Chic also will often kit class kits for my online classes too. So they work really hard at those. And they are in Michigan. Let's see. I see a question. I know you're busy, but does Firefly Farm have the Lawn Fawn products in their store? I live 2 hours away and was just wondering if you knew. Oh boy, do I know. Firefly Farm has probably almost all the Lawn Fawn products in their store. Trisha does an amazing job at stocking Lawn Fawn stuff. So if you are 2 hours from her in Pine Island, Minnesota, hop in your car tomorrow and go. All right.
I just have to say, Shari actually texted me going, look at me making that poll. I'm like, that had to be Kelly because it definitely wasn't me.
Well, sorry, Rebecca. Like,
well, sorry, I was so excited. I made a poll. And I was like, nope, not me.
I was going to say, when I saw the poll go up, I knew for sure it wasn't Rebecca. And I'm actually impressed that Kelly was like, Kelly did it. I'm actually
I was typing.
Yeah, no, that's where I go.
Miles gave me all his energy. Well, when I looked at this milkshake, it was probably here. And then when I looked, it was down to here. And I think that was probably why all of a sudden he was like, and like,
oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay. So I'm going to take my wet brush. I don't want it too wet and I don't want it dry. And again, that's just something you're going to have to start to learn. And I'm going to pull a little bit of orange. Now, I know this is spice marmalade, but any orange will work. So I'm just dabbing my wet brush on my pencil. And same thing, you can start to scribble out that pigment. It's a really nice, rich pigment. And once you get some color laid down, like I do right here, I'm going to actually go back into my cup of water. I think it's helpful for you guys to see. And so I have a decent amount of water on my brush. And what you can do is pull from your pigment to get a lighter variant. And if you want it even lighter, you can clean your brush completely. So it's just clean, quote unquote, clean water, which we know now our water's never clean because we've dipped it in. And you can pull even more away. So it's just so fun. And I actually find it really relaxing. I know some of you might be laughing about that right now because you're probably all tensed up and nervous about watercoloring. But the more I do it, just the fluidity of it, I just find it really, really relaxing. And I feel really artsy, even though I'm not. I went to school for graphic design and I had to minor in fine art. And let me tell you, those fine art classes were a struggle for me. Real hard. Josie remembers me. Do you remember me coming home in tears because of my drawing teacher?
Yes.
Yeah. It was hard.
Yeah. I was there in the music classes, not to fine art, but I did just watercolor something. So
yay.
I mean, do it. And we do have a really good question. People are asking, how can Canadians get the free set? There are actually quite a few Canadian stores participating in this event, which is so exciting. So if you go check out the map, you can check that out and find the store closest to you. So we're so thrilled that so many of our Canadian stores are participating in this fun event too.
Yay. Oh my gosh.
And a lot of people are Scrappy Chic visitors, which is awesome. And Paper Crafters Workshop as well, which is in Canada. So that's really great.
Yep.
There's a lot of Scrappy Chic customers.
Yeah, and if you don't have one nearby, call or email the one closest to you and see if they could help you out. So and see if they can maybe mail you the set.
Yeah. Introduce yourself, make a new friend.
Yeah, and it's a $60 US Lawn Fawn purchase. In Canada, it's $70. And if it's in another country, kind of check things out from there. But yeah, so that's the level of the order for it. And there's a lot of people that have been going to their local stores, which is so amazing.
Yay! I love that. All right, so let's get started, you guys. Let's watercolor some shapes, okay? I am going to start with my stitched garden backdrop that we already die cut out. All of my die cut pieces are out of the smooth side of the distressed watercolor cardstock. For something like this, it honestly does not matter. It's just a mood thing for me. If I'm in the mood to have a little texture, if I want it to be smooth. If you're going to stamp on it, I would recommend using the smooth side. Just because you'll just have a better stamp result instead of fighting with that textured side. But it really, honestly, does not matter. Now, I am going to start with a brown. Again, doesn't matter which brown you use. I know every set has a brown because we know Tim Holtz loves his browns. Which, as I use all the browns, I'm always like, they really are so different. So it is nice to have a good variety, believe it or not. And so I'm going to take my paintbrush, and don't worry too much right now if it's really wet, not wet, or medium wet. Don't stress about that. Just wet your paintbrush, brush it along the tip of your pencil, and if having messy trays like this stresses you out, which I think it does stress Shari out, you can totally take your pencil out of the tray and brush this way, like this, and your pencils will stay a little bit cleaner. If it stresses you out that your trays are going to get kind of messy. And I actually will sometimes get a little bit of the color next to it. I like those happy accidents, but again, if that's kind of giving you angst, I don't want that to happen. Mm-hmm. So I just wet my brush. I'm pulling some color off of the pencil and just start filling in the... Yeah, so I am using gathered twigs.
Okay.
And I am just plopping the color down. And as soon as my brush becomes dry, like see how scratchy it is right here, just dip your brush in the water and just move that pencil around. And your dirt can be dark or your dirt can be light. It doesn't matter.
And we're covering the
whole thing. Yep. We're just getting warmed up here.
I noticed when you go into your pencil, yours looks really dark and mine kind of is coming out lighter.
I think because your pencils are brand new and my pencils are like loved. So you might need to add some more water to the tip of your pencil.
And you're right, because now as I'm doing it more, I'm getting a darker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is more motivation to give your pencils some love, because then they'll just work easier for you.
Exactly. And someone here is asking what a type A crafter is. I believe I just demonstrated it.
So that's a great question.
I'm a little bit too worried about getting it just right.
Yeah. A type A crafter is, and this is not a bad thing. Like 90% of my friends who craft are type A crafters. A type A crafter is just somebody that is very particular and wants everything to be straight and precise and clean. And did I mention straight?
This is why this is good, because this is a good, this is good.
Definitely
this is good for us.
Comfort zone.
Yeah, I love it.
And I mean, I just did kind of a solid color on this, but you could really play with it and add some dark pigment on these little hills that our dye created for us.
Do we need to worry if like it almost feels like it piled up a little bit? Will it kind of dry or?
So it's no matter what, it's going to dry. If it is pooling anywhere, you will see some texture from that pooling as it dries. And that's part of watercoloring. So remember, when we're using a different medium, we're not ink blending and we're not using alcohol-based markers. So this is going to look different. It's going to look different than ink blending. It's going to look different than alcohol-based markers because it's a different medium, right? And I actually like you can just see, let me actually zoom in. My paintbrush just dripped some water. And do you see this fun ring that's happening? I love that. Yeah. It's like dirt. Dirt's dirt.
Dirt. Yeah.
If your cardstock is curling a little bit, which mine is, that's a normal thing because it's taking it on all this water. You just let it dry. Once you attach it to your card, you're going to be able to get it to flatten out. It's not bad. If you have a lot of water, and you want to just kind of like slow your roll with it a little bit, I like to use the Ranger heat tool. This is not an embossing gun. It's a diffused heat. So I could put my Ranger heat tool on this cardstock for a very, very, very long time. And it's not going to scorch the cardstock. It's not going to burn it, which with an embossing gun, you have to be careful so that you don't have that happen. You do not need to dry your hill right now if you want to just set it aside. I was just kind of just demonstrating in case somebody had a lot of water and they were just like really nervous and wanted to kind of dry it. If you start to lose control and you do have a lot of water, you can dry it with your heat tool. And now I could go back in with a wet brush and add some more color again. And I'll feel like, okay, I have control again. I dried it. It's not so wet. And you can just keep building up the layers. So let me know in the chat how many of you guys are actually watercoloring with me tonight. And let me know who's just watching. Let me know if you're scared or nervous, or if you're starting to feel warmed up.
I have a couple questions. Someone's asking how long this free promotion lasts. It's really while supplies last. So it's going to be, we're going to be kind of been talking about it all this next week and everything, but it's while supplies last at your local store.
It's such a cute set. So once you get your dirt looking like dirt, just brown, we haven't done anything fancy to it. I'm just going to set this aside. We are going to do some splatters on that, but not just yet. Now I'm working on my tabletop, which is a glass tabletop. And so I'm just going to use my flower sackcloth that's always in my lap. And I'm just going to wipe all this extra watercolor pencil off the table so that as we go into another color, we're not really mixing our colors. Oh, good. Some people are crafting along. Some people are just watching.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
Either way, we're all hanging out together, and I love that.
Yep. Oh, no. Somebody's just watching because they broke their wrist. I hope you feel better soon.
Sure.
Scrappy Chic is watching the Tigers game and us. Thanks for multitasking, Scrappy Chic.
I also love Linda's phrase. I like my projects to be type A, but my card cave, on the other hand, is a type D for disaster.
And Gina says that she's purchased my Distress Watercolor class, but this is her first time using the pencils. Come on, Gina.
Oh my goodness. And also there's all sorts of Kellys in the comments. So hi, fellow Kellys.
All right. So now what I did, and I believe I showed this on my handout, is I had all the greenery from all of our veggies, all the tops and greens, and I stuck my little stem, but I have it all on my best ever craft tape. And if you've done a create with us before, you guys know I like to do this when we are coloring with our alcohol-based markers and we're coloring all our little critters. That way, since we have to have them die cut ahead of time for class, we have a little bit more real estate to hold on to when we're coloring. Well, when you're watercoloring, it's actually really helpful as well. And I thought kind of all these greenery bits were a little hard to hold on to, so I thought it'd be easy to put them on best ever craft tape. I will tell you, most of the time I reuse my best ever craft tape, but tonight, because we're going to be watercoloring right on this tape, I would throw away this tape when you're done because the watercolor will be more apt to transfer onto another project and you don't want to accidentally ruin something. So we have all these different greenery tops for all of our veggies. And what we are going to do is we are going to color them green. I know, crazy, right? So If you have multiple sets of the watercolor pencils, you could use different greens for each kind of top. But if you don't have different sets and you only have one, you could just use one green as well. And I'll just show you how to do that. So I'm going to use peeled paint. And again, any green will work, but this is peeled paint. And I'm going to just add, just like we did with the dirt, is just start laying your pigment down, your pencil down to kind of see how light it is, see how dark it is, see if you need to pick up a little bit more pencil, and just color your top green. And whatever, if this is really light or this is really dark, what you can do for a different top is make it much darker or much lighter. And so even though you only have maybe one green pencil, you could still get a variety. Another idea is you could tap your brush back into that brown that we used for our dirt. And you could put a little bit of brown in there too to change the color up. And we figure these are root veggies, right? So they've got some dirt on them.
Sorry, we're a little distracted here because there's
No worries.
something's on fire in our town because there are helicopters and police like everywhere.
Yikes.
And I smell the fire.
Yeah.
Outside, like,
Oh, I
I
smell.
Yeah, I went outside and all I smell is fire.
Yeah.
But I don't see smoke. I do some research.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it close by? Do you guys need to be concerned?
Definitely close.
Definitely close.
It smells very smoky.
And you guys thought I was kidding about starting a fire before this live.
Yeah, but you have done it in California.
Because I just recently moved into our new home, I don't have my studio set up exactly the way I want it yet, and I need more outlets. So I'm very scarily using extension cords on extension cords on extension cords. So I joked with Kelly, Shari, and Rebecca before we went live. I'm like, I hope I'm not going to start a fire.
Yep, and now here we go. We're gosh, it really is. The smell is like really strong.
Hope you guys are okay. Mindy says that Rebecca has radar senses. She really does.
She does. Well, I don't think you guys could, I thought maybe you could hear it on camera, which is why I said
no.
It's loud, like the helicopters and but I think these microphones, they're good at like taking out those sounds.
They're really decent at taking out background noises. So,
all right. So I have a potentially silly question, and I'm actually doing it right now, but like, it's called a watercolor pencil. So like, why?
I know. I actually was just thinking, I'm waiting for somebody to ask why we're not using them like pencils.
I can see the color's not as bright. I just tried to do it.
So, I am going to grab my lettuce, the back of my lettuce right here. And this is not how I am going to color my lettuce. So if you just want to watch, that's fine. I very rarely use the pencil like a pencil and scribble onto the watercolor cardstock. Now, I'm going to show you what it will look like if you did, but you can take your pencil and I'm just going to kind of scribble. I probably shouldn't have chosen Twisted Citron. It's like the lightest color but I was trying to find a veggie that had some big surface area. So I scribbled the pencil directly onto the watercolor cardstock. And now I'm going to take my wet paintbrush and pull that color and move it around. Now, it's actually a little bit more work to do that because you've really got to kind of wet it and pull it. And often you will still see the scribble marks from the pencil. which sometimes I want. That actually could have been cute for the dirt, honestly. But a lot of the times I don't want that. So let me actually grab my watercolor cardstock because that was a bad color choice. But so I'm going to just take Uncharted Mariner because it's a really nice dark blue. And let's just say I scribble and color in an image. Let's pretend that's what this is. So when I go into it with a wet brush, you're still going to see some of that scribbling. Can you see that, Kelly?
Yeah, I see that. And I'm kind of practicing with it. You're right. Sometimes like the scribbling on the leaves kind of looks cool.
I was going to say that's
yeah.
not a bad thing. That there's nothing wrong to it. I have just gotten very comfortable pulling the color. I just find I have a lot more control, and it's actually a lot less work than trying to smooth out the scribbles. Hopefully that answers. That's a good question.
The vegetation fire.
So I'm going to go back to my greenery tops. So I did peeled paint, and I actually added a little brown to these guys right here. I'm going to do these guys that are going to eventually go on my carrots next. I'm going to use mowed lawn. But again, if you only have one green, you can just do a different shade of your green, or you can add a little bit of brown, or you could even add a little bit of gray to change the tone. And see, this isn't scary. This is like kindergartner. You know, you're just coloring these shapes.
And Jen, it doesn't matter what color we color all these. Right.
Not at all.
It's just fun to have a.
I'm just saying, I was like not saying the names, and I know people were asking. So that's the only reason why I'm saying the names now.
Because I've just been kind of like randomly coloring the different leaves, not thinking about and like changing it up.
I love that you're not thinking and you're just having fun watercoloring.
We are. And it is distracting us from the fact that we definitely know the fire is like right next to the fun. So
yeah, it's literally like right there.
So
okay, well, Rebecca will keep an eye on things for you. You just keep watercoloring.
We're gonna print out with your watercolor.
Yeah.
This is actually a good question. Do you feel, Jen, that's why your pencils last longer? Because you do take the color directly from the pencil versus applying the pencil directly onto the paper. Quite possibly, I think, because when you're scribbling out, you might use the pencil a lot more to fill in the area. So that is a possibility. Just so you guys know, you can sharpen these pencils. They take a little bit of a wider opening pencil sharpener than a normal pencil sharpener. I know Prismacolor has one. So if you wanted to have a nice tip on your pencil, you can sharpen them. What else was I going to say? My friend Sharon did a really good YouTube video about using the shavings after sharpening, and she made a palette. So she doesn't really pull the color from the pencil tip like I do. She'll pull it from a palette that she created with the shavings. That's another good idea. If having a messy tray like mine is bothers you, you could make a palette of your shavings. I just did the tomato top for those that are trying to follow along. I did the tomato top with mowed lawn as well. So the same thing as the carrot tops.
He's picking up water from the lake. He's dumping water from the lake.
Oh, yeah. We've got a really, really cute idea. Someone mentioned that they use the Carrot About You stamp set to make a card for her daughter. And I think for her passing her driver's license. And I think that's just the cutest idea.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun with the little carrot car. I love it.
Yeah. And we have another question saying that their store may not be offering the die set. If they aren't, it's still available. Your store can purchase it and offer that die set, or any other local store close to you. Many of them have it. Oh my goodness. And this is so cute. Someone's granddaughter loves to see Miles creating. So I love that. I know he had a lot of fun on tonight. He might even be watching from home now. So hi, Miles, just in case you're there.
I just did the top of the is it garlic or onion or both, Kelly?
We kind of thought it was onion, but it could be garlic too.
Okay. So I did the
Yeah.
top of that. I did it with forest moss. Just so if anybody's following along, but again, any green will work. And then I'm going to skip my stem right now. I just have that stuck there so I don't lose it. But I'm going to do this last bit of greenery tops with the 3 little leaves. And that one I'm going to go back to peeled paint. We just thought this would be fun to do for a different Create With Us. Because again, we kind of, we always do some sort of coloring, which we will do at the end of class. We have a little bit of coloring. We can't put together a card without some cute mice.
Of course. But this is so fun because it's fun either for people who love to watercolor or someone like me. Like this is such a blast, and it kind of gets you out of your comfort zone when I'm not used to watercoloring, you know?
I love getting Kelly out of her comfort zone. That's actually my second goal of Create With Us.
Yeah.
My first goal is to inspire all of you guys that are watching, but my second goal is ooh, what can I make Kelly do? This is fun.
What would be good? What would be a good thing for Kelly's, mental state? And I think painting a bunch of stuff would be great.
Now, I've seen this question a couple times, Kelly, so I'm going to say it to you while you're watercoloring. But people are already asking for some hints about the next release.
Well, I know I saw someone asking what day it is, and it's May 16th, which means on May 8th, look at my calendar, May 8th, that's when the Inspiration Week will start, which is wild because that's pretty close.
I just realized, that's.
Yeah.
Just in time for my birthday.
I know, right? Just in time for, I know we've got all the May birthdays, Miles and Jen and Shari.
Yep. May is the best month to have a birthday.
And I'll never forget that Shari, we had a little poll going on when Miles would be born, and Shari, her guess seemed so crazy because she picked her birthday, but he was born so late that Shari ended up winning the poll.
Yeah, that was so funny. That was really funny.
Oh my goodness. But yes, we do have I have a good hint. There is a theme in this release that I would consider to be the opposite of Jen.
I know when we were talking about Create With Us for the summer, Kelly's like, you can use A or B. And I'm like, I love both, but I'm definitely not as inspired by B.
Yeah. So that's a really good hint as to one of our themes.
I love it. So I just did the background of the lettuce with Twisted Citron, if you're following exact colors. And I'm going to do the fronts of the lettuce and the cauliflower with mowed lawn. Josie, do you have 3 of these?
I have 2 of those.
Okay, never mind. I've lost one, but that's fine.
Do you want one of mine for yours?
No, I definitely can make another one another day.
And somebody was asking if we get a lot of fires around here. Not that often, but we've had a couple. There was one in very, very close to Lawn Fun once where we actually we all just went home because there was so much smoke even inside the office. That was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, we've had a few. I've been evacuated from my home a few times.
I've been evacuated in San Diego when I lived there. Yeah.
It's not that often.
Yeah.
But it does happen.
And we do because we have Camp Pendleton really close to us. So there's also just fires there sometimes too.
So if you ever feel like the pigment isn't moving enough, just add a little bit more water. If it's too light in color, let it dry or dry it with a heat tool and then go back at it with less water. We will get into shading in a little bit. We're just kind of getting you guys warmed up and hopefully a little less scared to watercoloring. I don't want you to think we're just going to be coloring one color over all the shapes, although this is fun too. Is there a chance of getting an alphabet stamp set to match the new Henry's Build a Sentiment stamp sets?
Oh, meaning in size?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we could, but that would be we do have a Henry's alphabet, like that font, but it's a bit larger as an alphabet stamp set. I think if we made it that small to match it, I think it would be very teeny tiny. It might be kind of hard to hold on to those letters, but that would be kind of fun. Our smallest alphabet that we have is Harold's ABCs. That was also our first one too. And even that one, it's pretty small, so it's a little bit harder to handle.
Two things. I just want to say happy birthday to Melissa. Today is her birthday, and she's coming to my classes in person at Firefly Farm. And
Amazing.
she's been to Cape Cod twice in 6 months to both of my in-person events. So happy birthday, Melissa.
Yay, is that great?
Happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Josie just said, is that Crayhill? I'm like, yep, we know Melissa. She drives from Ohio.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then Lori just said, how do we get Jen out of her comfort zone? Make her use red or pink? I actually use a lot of pink. I don't use a lot of red. That set B stamp set that we were hinting to for the summer release is definitely going to get me out of my comfort zone.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely not a level for Jen.
Oh, we also have a lot of May birthdays in this chat.
I love it.
Oh, someone says they're in San Diego and they know which fire I was talking about. Yeah, I lived in Claremont Mesa at the time.
Jen was asking, do I like to use 2 different colors for shading or using varying levels of water with the same color? I actually like to do both. All right, let's see. What can we color next? Well, speaking of red, we'll just color our tomato. So because I'm working on my glass tabletop.
One question, Jen, before you move on. Did you do the stem?
I haven't yet, but we can actually quickly do the stem since it's on our tape.
I just wasn't sure. I had mine out and then I wasn't sure if...
Oh, that's good. And actually, I just found my other greenery that I just was blaming Josie that maybe she had it.
I love how you like completely kidded for me and then blamed me.
I know. Josie just said, I like how you kidded for me and then you blamed me. I'm like, yep, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, I thought because I had my kit torn apart to know what to kit for you, because why would I pull up the handout that I worked so hard to make for everybody?
I used your handout to prep for Kelly. Just saying, I used it.
Thank you. So I'm using gathered twigs for my stem. I think I originally used Vintage Photo, but again, it doesn't matter. Just a brown. I do want my stem to be fairly light because it's going to be with a yellow pepper. There was so much green going on. I was like, ooh, it needs to be a different color pepper. And obviously I wasn't going to do a red pepper. So the red tomato was enough. So what I was just saying is because my tabletop is glass, I just have all this leftover green from watercoloring. So you just want to kind of wipe up in between. I don't know what surface you're working on, but that way you won't accidentally get the next color into your project.
And I have one of those Ranger mats. A lot of people might have those like silicone ones. And I just have a bottle with water and I just spray the water and then just use my cloth to pick it up.
Perfect. Yeah. And you could even use your stamp chamois if you wanted to too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So now I'm going to color my tomato, and the way that I'm going to color the tomato is I'm going to use 2 different reds. If you only have one red, you can just go much heavier in pigment where you want a shadow. And if you have 2 reds, then you can use the 2 reds. I'm going to be using Barn Door and Fired Brick. I'm going to start with Fired Brick. I'm going to pull that pigment. And I'll be honest, you guys are not going to see the tomato much, so don't worry what your shadowing looks like. Again, we're all learning and we're just playing. But I'm going to take that Fired Brick color And I'm going to go on the left side of the tomato. And I'm just going to lay down a lot of fired brick, just like that. Were you loving on Auntie JoJo earlier, Jack?
Mm-hmm.
That's so nice of you. I told you she's nice. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and take a clean wet brush. So I cleaned my brush. And I'm going to go into barn door.
You see the question about
Barn door is very much like Copic R24 that Shari loves.
it's gonna be asking if there's a new interactive or a tiny gift box.
And I'm going to color on the right side of the tomato with barn door. And kind of leave a gap between the two colors. Go ahead, Kelly.
No, it was someone Heather, her and I were chatting earlier when she lived really close to where I lived in San Diego.
And then
So
to blend this together, I'm going to clean my brush. And this is where you don't want a lot of water, but you don't want your brush to be dry either. So I just touched it to my hand to make sure I did feel some water, but not a lot of water. And I'm just going to bring these colors together. I'm just kind of scribbling between the two. And then I'm going to go back into barn door and bring some of that in towards the fired brick. I always start by adding more of the light. And then to kind of smooth out that shadow, I'll go back into fired brick and add a little bit more on that left side. Anytime you want to kind of smooth anything out between the two colors, go with a clean brush or a brush with your lighter color is what I find works for me. And really play with that water. These are veggies. So veggies have a lot of fun texture to them. And again, it's not meant to be this smooth, seamless thing. And I know red's really hard to see on camera, but...
Oops. I have a tendency to keep, like, I do this with my markers as well. Like, I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't have kept adding, you know?
Well,
the
good thing about watercoloring too, and I'll just quickly show you, is I could go in with a clean brush and see how this is like taking the color away. And I could like blot this and look at how almost all the color's gone. So I could now go back in and add some more. So that's something you could do if you're starting to lose control a little bit of what's happening, or maybe you lost your shadow. I actually find watercoloring a lot more forgiving than working with alcohol-based markers. But again, I know just from teaching people and hearing what people say in classes, watercoloring, I think, makes people more nervous. But as soon as they
get used to it.
Yeah, as soon as you get used to it, I think you'll find you're going to have a lot more control with watercoloring than you do with alcohol-based markers. Again, love my alcohol-based markers. I'm not saying, I'm never going to use them again. I use them all the time, but.
And someone's asking if there's a new interactive or tiny gift box. There is a brand new tiny gift box add-on for this release. And there are add-ons to some interactives, multiple interactives in this release. So that's kind of fun too.
All right, we have our crate pieces and our stick for our sign. So we've got like our little stitched sign. We're not going to do that just yet, but we've got the stick for it. So we've got our crate pieces and our stick. This is all going to be gathered twigs or a brown. I'm using the same brown I used for my ground. And we just want to get this part done so that it'll dry, because then we're going to splatter with our pencils our crate and our ground that we did earlier. So we're just coloring the crate just like we did the sand, the dirt, just by putting some pigment down. There's no rhyme or reason. And hopefully you guys are seeing this is not rocket science. This is fun and easy.
There's a question.
You can play with it more or less.
Somebody's asking if this will wash out of clothes.
Jen, do you know if this washes out of clothes?
Somebody's asking.
It should.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever really gotten the distressed watercolor pencils in my clothes. I would get some clean water right on it so that it doesn't dry, but it should.
Oh, Paper Crafters Workshop is here. Hi, Paper Crafters Workshop.
Hey, we were talking about you earlier.
Yeah, she must have heard us. Her ears were tingling and she came. Hi, it's so good to see you.
Yay.
Oh, and then some people are saying how much they love that Lawn Fawn dies have, I like this, snot dots
Yes,
instead of double-sided tape. So I'm glad that you guys like that, because that's one of our things we make sure we do, because we know that double-sided tape can be frustrating.
Paper Crafters Workshop has a really fun Facebook group called, I think it's LFPJ Party. If they're in the chat, they can say what it is exactly. I think it's LFPJ Party, and they do really fun pajama parties the night before a release.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. So I'm going to just set my wood. I'm going to set my wood aside. Again, if we wanted things to dry quicker, we could use our heat tool, but because we've got plenty of things to watercolor, I'm just letting it air dry. I do like the difference between air drying and drying it quickly. The air drying sometimes gives you those fun little veins and pools of color happen naturally. So I'll often let things air dry just to kind of see what comes of it.
Oh, and someone's saying they use the Build-A-Barrel since they don't have the crate. I love that.
Oh, I bet that's going to be so cute, which also reminds me, please, please, please make sure you guys share your cards with us. Post them, on social media, tag Lawn Fawn, feel free to tag me, Jen Shirkus. All that info is on your handout, because we absolutely love to see what you're creating. Even if you're watercoloring flowers tonight, we want to see it. We want to see it.
Yes, that's so much fun. That's what's so fun, is sharing what we create with others, right?
Exactly.
Whether it's giving it as a gift or just being together like we are here, right?
It's like he's just discovered.
I think it's because, so Jack is being very lovey and very chatty with Auntie JoJo. And I think it's because Chris is not here tonight. Chris's daughter, Kate, is graduating from college in May at Sarah Lawrence, and she has an art exhibit this weekend. So Chris drove to New York to be able to see her exhibit tomorrow. And I think Jack is super lonely. So I love you, Jose, but I think
it's because he finally loves his auntie.
I think he's just loving on you because he's like lacking attention.
Strongly disagree.
Jack, by the way, is one of my kitties. So for those of you guys that don't know. Okay, so we are going to do our carrots next. I used wild honey and wild honey and rusty hinge. If you only have one orange, I'm going to actually show you how to do that first. Okay, so I'm going to take wild honey. I have to peek at. Okay, yeah. I'm going to take some wild honey, which is my lighter color. So if you're doing two colors, you would be doing the same thing as me right now. If you're doing one color, you would do the same thing as me. And we're just going to add wild honey all over the background, just like we've been doing. And I made sure that I had a decent amount of water so that my wild honey is fairly light in color. Wild honey is a fairly light color, but You want it to be fairly light, like keep it light. Sherry says that she's rocking the same shirt today as my craft more, worry less, like my new motto. And what you're going to do next. So if you only have one orange, you're going to go into your Wild Honey pencil and make sure you pick up a lot of pigment. If you are using a second orange, you're going to pick up your second orange. I'll demo my second carrot with the 2 colors, and this first carrot will be with the 1 color. But I'm in Wild Honey. My brush is loaded with pigment. And all those little carrot lines that the die made for us, I'm laying that pigment down. Can you guys see how dark that is? Okay. Now I'm going to clean my brush. I don't want a lot of water. And I'm going to come in and just kind of soften where I just laid that pigment down, so it just doesn't look so harsh from light to dark. Just kind of dabbing. Okay, so that's with 1 pencil. Now I'm going to do it with 2 pencils. So I'm going to start with just a light coat of Wild Honey all over the carrot. And then I'm going to load up my brush with Rusty Hinge.
Are you loading it up like just like the other one, like a lot?
Yeah, yep, because we can always take a little bit away if we need to, but I'm going to go drastic. And I'm going to lay it down. And because my carrot's still wet, the Rusty Hinge is going to move a little bit. Don't be afraid. It's going to kind of wick out along that water. Kind of doing lots of little dips and dabs. And then again, clean your brush, not too much water. We don't want any like water droplets to come off our brush. And I'm just going in and dabbing around those dark areas to just kind of soften those harsh edges. And by dabbing, that Rusty Hinge that's on the edges is kind of mixing into that Wild Honey a little bit more and making like an in-between color. If you need to go back in and add a little bit more Wild Honey to soften those edges, you can do that too. And let things dry before you're like, oh my gosh, I don't like it. Definitely let it dry. The brush size.
Yeah, I already went deeply into I don't like it, and now I've made choices.
Yeah, Rusty Hinge in the Wild Honey is a little scary. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and then I went back over it with the Wild Honey, and I should have waited, Yeah,
but that's okay. But now you can go back in with Rusty Hinge again too. So the brush sizes that I'm using, this is a number 4 round. I also like a number 2 round. It has a little bit more fine detail. So if you're feeling like you need a little bit more control and the number 4 is a little bit too big, but all I've used tonight is the number 4.
I've been using number 4 as well.
Marcy just said, this is allowing my type A crafter to relax. Nothing too precise with watercoloring. Yay!
Well, and I'd like to mention, someone's asking about brand of, these are Claudine Helmuth Ranger brushes from before Lawn Fawn existed. So they're like 15 years old, and they're the same as the Ranger brushes, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're very inexpensive, and they've lasted me all, because I'm not any experts. I don't have, so I just have this brush, and they've been great.
And Claudine Helmuth isn't a signature designer for Ranger anymore. She hasn't been for a number of years. So Ranger just kept the brushes in their line, but just call them Ranger brushes instead of Claudine Helmuth. But they're the same exact brushes. I have those too.
And then somebody was mentioning that they're going to Tasmania, and we do have Image Plus in Tasmania that has the Garden Mouse set. So you'll have to check them out.
Yay. All right, so I am going to set my carrots aside, And I'm going to wipe off my table so I get rid of that orange color. And I'm going to take out my beet. Now, my beet is smaller than my turnips. I'm calling them turnips. That's how I colored them. So I've got a beet that's small and I've got 2 turnips. We're going to color the turnips later. That's actually what I really love about these veggie sets is many of the veggies can be different veggies, multiple veggies.
And we did that on purpose. You could do like beet, radish, turnip.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, all the different. Which I have to say that I like how turnips look. I don't know that I've ever eaten a turnip.
Ooh, I love them.
Are they good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like well, I don't know. They're a turnip.
Yeah. I'm like,
I know. I'm literally like about to say they're like another veggie, and then I'm like, no, they're not. They're really
not. They're just like,
if you like veggies, you would like them.
Yeah,
but
and
I don't feel like they're popular out here.
No.
Yeah, I never.
I'm like, I think that's a us, Jen, an East Coast thing.
Yeah, Northeast. I'm also like, I'm Cuban, so we're eating like yuca. You know, that's
exactly.
our root veggie. So
I actually didn't know about turnips until I moved to Cape Cod, but a couple people are saying they like their veggies once they're drying. Yes, I love that. And if you don't like your veggies once they dry, you can go back in with water and pigment and play with them some more. Okay, so I'm working on my beet. And for my beet, I'm going to use a purple and a pink. So I'm going to be using seedless preserves and picked raspberry.
And someone's asking if there's a new critter, and there definitely is a new critter this time.
I feel like, isn't there a couple? Or am I lying?
There's one for sure. I'm questioning.
I'm only questioning the set we're talking about is the one out of my comfort zone, so I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, there's two.
There's two new critters.
That's right.
And there might be a third. That might be new. I don't know. He might be new.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, it's definitely 2.
Shari probably knows. Only because I think Shari's busy working on intro videos, right?
Someone's asking if we could show the tops of the veggies again. I'm sure once we're done with this.
Oh yeah, let me finish this veggie and then I will for sure show you the tops.
And look, now that we're chatting too much, is that your picked raspberry?
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
I didn't get a chance to say. This is my picked raspberry. I'm doing a nice light coat over the whole beet. And then I'm going to pick up some seedless preserves, which is a purple. And I'm going to add it to the lines on the beet. Again, don't worry if it goes a little crazy. That's the beauty of definitely working with watercolor is you have a lot of time to play and manipulate. So here's what my beet looks like right now. It looks a little crazy. And I like to start with a brush that doesn't have a lot of water and kind of just dab around the dark to the light. If I find that that's taking away too much color, I'll go into the light pencil, which in this case was the picked raspberry, the pink, and I'll add some more of that in to kind of soften these edges. And I really, really would encourage you guys, especially with this one, I'm seeing it happen a lot more with the purple and the pink. Embrace these kind of water splotchy textures we're getting because it's really going to make these veggies look more organic and just so yummy. And again, I'm kind of doing more dabbing than painting. Oh my gosh. Do you hear that, Kelly, in the background or no?
What I heard, like, what was it?
Yeah, the 2 cats, they're like running around like crazy children.
Oh my gosh. I got I know, because Miles was like, so I couldn't believe he wanted to be on camera and was so excited earlier.
I know. Everybody was
I
like,
realized he had my whole chocolate shake, and now I know why.
now you know why.
Oh my gosh, look at this. I just put my hand into my beet.
I love it.
The paper towels.
That's okay, I've got this.
I got
Man.
the knives too.
Well, maybe that's just how this guy was meant to look. I lost my lines, but it looks kind of cool.
Again, let it dry. And again, if you want to go back in more later, you can. Kind of reactivate it with some more pigment. I'm going to kind of let mine be, but I'll bring it up to the cameras. You can kind of see I've got a lot of seedless preserves, purple, kind of pooling over here on the right side. I'm going to actually let that stay because I know just from experience that's going to dry into some really yummy goodness.
So like my carrot here, it turned out a bit too crazy. So now I could go back in with like the wild honey and.
Yep, for sure. And
Yeah.
you could kind of soften it up a little bit. All right. Wow. I'm going to just zoom back out and I'll show you guys my greens. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just coloring them green. These guys down here at the end, I added a little brown to them.
I'm being educated on our critters as to which ones are new and which ones aren't, and why they are not the same critters that we've.
I feel like we're gonna have to start studying before the Create With Us.
I know right now. I'm assuming everyone's going like, "What could this set be?"
Yeah, I'm like, I am totally being educated.
Paper Crafters Workshop just said that they love how the stitching marks are like coloring guides, and they really are.
Oh, that's such a good way to think of it. I love that.
Yep. We've got sleepy dogs.
Yeah, this puppy, I swear there's something wrong because he's the most.
No, well, I'm like, I want, and I, you guys, I love Murphy so much, but after about 1 week of Murphy at Lawn Fun, like he was going to take the place down, and like, and
which is Rebecca's other dog.
Yes. Yeah. And this one, he literally is just sitting there with his Chewy. I've never had a dog this calm in my life.
He just likes my watercoloring class. He's very relaxed.
And that's exactly, it's soothing. Your voice is soothing to him. Because, Kelly and I.
Yeah.
Well, some people do say that, which I think my voice is everybody thinks their own voice is obnoxious, right? But after a lot of my online classes, I get lots of pictures of sleeping cats and sleeping dogs. So maybe. Oh. Okay. So now we are going to color our turnips. I totally forgot to bring my notes in of what veggies I colored with what. So I'm like looking at my swatch list that I made for the handout and my samples and deciphering myself here. It's okay though. It's all good. So
there's a really good question, Jen, while you're starting on these. Do you prefer watercoloring with these pencils or versus distress inks? Are they more concentrated or bold than the distress ink?
So since these pencils have come out, I don't think I have watercolored with my distress inks once. And I used to do that all the time. I do think that they are more concentrated in color. I think you have a lot more control with your variety of lights and darks with the pencils. Even back in the day before the pencils, I would watercolor with distress reinkers to get more intense color. But I just don't find the need for that because there's a million other amazing things you could do with the ink pads. Okay, so we're going to do turnips, and for turnips, we're actually going to use, I'm trying to remember. I think it's seedless preserves and antique linen. So I'm going to start with one turnip, and I'm actually going to hold it horizontally, and you'll kind of see why. And antique linen is one of the creamy colors, like the tan colors. So you could use old paper if you have that instead. I'm actually trying to find my antique. Oh, here it is. So this is antique linen for those of you guys that aren't familiar with the colors. So it's so light that I want to make sure I don't lose it. So I'm going to start with antique linen, and I'm going to color the bottom tip of the turnip. Josie's
And
first time using antique linen.
I've someone asking if there are mice in this next release, and there are.
Ooh, yeah, there are.
They're really cute.
Living their best lives. They continue to live their best lives.
I know. Oh, by the way, anyone who has a little one or a grandchild, that they need to tell bedtime stories too. Because my son, he used to make me make up songs. Now I have to tell him bedtime stories. And I just tell him mice stories, and I just do the stamp sets.
That's perfect.
So like, like mice are doing whatever, they're gardening or etc. And so if you ever can't think of a story to tell, just think of a stamp set and tell the story of the stamp set.
I love that, because I don't have children, but when I'm in my studio here creating cards, I'm telling myself a story. I'm like, and then
Right?
they did this, and then they went and did that. Okay.
So you could do those bedtime stories.
So now we're going to use a purple seedless preserves. You could use picked raspberry if you don't have seedless preserves. Again, I don't know what colors are in what sets together, but you don't want a lot of seedless preserves. You want it to be fairly light in color. So I'm actually putting a little bit at the top here. And then I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to start to pull it down closer to the antique linen. So you can see how watered down mine is. We can always go in and add more, but we kind of want to start where we have a little bit of control. Now I'm going to kind of scribble with a clean brush between the two to kind of fill in that gap. And I'm going to pick up a little bit more seedless preserves. And because my cardstock is really wet, that seedless preserves is really going to kind of move down in towards the antique linen. You can pick up a little bit more antique linen, dab that in towards the seedless preserves. And again, really embrace those watermarks that you're going to get, because they're going to make the veggies look realistic. You could add a little, whoa. That was a lot. It's okay though. So I stopped. I'm cleaning my brush. I have very, very little water on my brush, and I'm able to kind of pick some of this up. The brush is almost like absorbing some of it. But what I was going to say before I got a little crazy there with the water is, especially on the seedless preserves top, you could dab a little bit of extra seedless preserves on those stitching lines. You could probably try with antique linen, or antique linen's so light, you could kind of mix a little bit of a brown with it and dab that on the stitch line. So a little bit of a brown with the antique linen will kind of darken it. So let's see, I have tea dye. Let me bring that into camera. So I have tea dye right next to my antique linen in my tray. So I just picked up a little bit of that and added it to the stitching. And now with a clean brush, I'm just kind of blurring it out a little bit. I love this. I could watercolor all day, every day.
This is super fun.
Yay, I'm so glad.
I know. I'm like, this one, I'm getting more and more used to it. So it's like I'm liking each veggie more.
Good. Oh, that's so cute, Kelly.
Yay.
Somebody has a question. Do you ever tip the veggie up so the colors run together?
Go for it.
Okay.
That sounds fun.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. So not only do I have that Distress watercolor class, it's an online class. You can take it at your own pace. I I also have so many samples on my website with distress watercolor pencils. So if you go to shirkus.com, my last name.com, you can just search distress watercolor pencils and you'll see every project I've shared with the watercolor pencils. So again, maybe you're still on the fence and you're not sure if they're your jam. You could kind of just go see the different variety of projects that I've created with them. Many of them are Lawn Fawn, but you'll see there's some Tim Holtz, there's some Honeybee Stamps, there's some Pink Fresh, there's all kinds of stuff. And it's just kind of fun to see the variety of looks you can get from this one medium. So
what I like about
go ahead.
I say what I like about it too is like I feel like I've made a lot of cards with these veggies because I love them.
Yeah.
But I feel like now it's like I'm almost have a brand new die set. Does that make sense? Because it looks so different. So I like the idea of even going back, like, oh my gosh, like could you imagine like the birdhouse? How beautiful would it be with the like I feel like I could go back to my die sets and make them feel brand new because I would be doing a totally different technique on them.
Yep. So one of my in-person classes that I'm teaching at Firefly Farm in early May, which is a store in Minnesota, is called How Art Can It Be? I was really impressed with my class title, but it's all about watercoloring, and we're using a lot of the shape dies from Lawn Fawn and creating cards. Like, believe it or not, there's very few stamped images on these cards, but it's really fun because I love the stamps. Like, I love Lawn Fawn stamps. So sometimes I overlook the dies. And this was a really fun class to design because it was like, oh yeah, look at all these cute dies we have too, like the standalone dies.
Yeah, it's really fun. It really feels like you have a brand new die set.
So basically, distress watercolor pencils are an add-on for Lawn Fawn.
Right?
Because Lawn Fawn's add-on stamps and dies always give new life to a set maybe that we've had for a while.
Right?
I love it. So I'm just coloring my second turnip. So again, I'm using antique linen on the bottom, a little bit of seedless preserves at the top, blend together towards the center with a little antique linen or just a wet brush. Just kind of move that pigment around however you want it to look. This is the only time where I really wish we were all together, because I wish you guys could all look around and see everybody's turnips, because everybody's turnips are going to look different. And I just think that's so fun to see. I'm going to let a little bit of the seedless preserves go down towards the bottom of my turnip because it's a really light, subtle hint of color there.
I brought in some of the picked raspberry too because that's one of my favorite colors.
Yep. Go for it.
And it's really pretty. Oh, sorry. It was my water, not the puppy going in the water.
So again, my turnip is pretty wet, but I'm going to set it aside because all of this like pooling that's happening down at the bottom and a little bit on the side here, when that dries, it's going to be so yummy. Like, you're going to be so excited when you see it. Now I'm looking at my beet. This is my beet. It's dry. I feel like it needs a little help. It looks a little choppy to me. So I'm actually just going to go in with a damp brush and just kind of dab around between the colors and see what we can get for movement. Again, these are not final. You can always continue to work with them. And like anything, we can always die cut another one, right? If we really feel like things went awry. I also just want to show you guys my water. It's very loved. But I actually find that, like, unless I was taking like the lightest color and coloring a white background with it, I don't ever really notice. My colors stay really true to the distress color. I don't know. All right, we have our 2 cauliflowers, the inside parts of our cauliflowers. We are just going to color those all antique linen. So I'm just going to load up my brush with a lot of pigment and color those in. If you want to add any shadow, you could. I would suggest using a brown to kind of give it a little bit of density. But I'm going to just color mine just antique linen.
Oh, this is such a good idea. Someone's saying our mushroom dyes look beautiful watercolored, both natural and fantasy colors. I love that idea.
Yep, I actually did a card for the Lawn Fun blog with the mushrooms with distress watercolor pencils. I think it was during my move, so I don't think that card is on my website yet, but it's in my pile to be blogged. I kind of lost track of a few blog posts these past couple months. For those of you who don't know, we bought a new home, we moved, and I hosted an event for 300 people. So it's been a little crazy this year. All good things, but a little crazy.
And also,
but it is on Lawn Fun's blog.
Annabella says she's loving her garden mouse set, which is the set that we have with the promotion we're doing with local brick and mortar stores, because she doesn't garden, so she can dream through her Lawn Fun stamps. And I'm the same way, because I wish I was someone who gardens, but I'm not, but I now stamp garden. And I think
same.
Kind of the same thing to stamp garden, right?
Yeah. I live in Lawn Fun land. All the things I can do in Lawn Fun land.
I think I'm going to have to learn how to help something grow, because I think Miles wants to try doing that. So I'm going to have to learn.
What are you looking at? There's nothing there. It's yourself, you idiot.
Sorry. Rebecca's talking to her dog, who is barking at himself. Not anyone else in the office.
Oh, he's looking in the glass.
Yeah, he sees himself in the glass of our door.
That's cute. All right, we're going to do the pepper next. And like I said, this is the card. Let me zoom back out. This is the card that the pepper is going to go on. And it's over here. There was already a lot of green. And for those of you that don't know, I don't love red. So, and I already had red in here with the tomato. So I figured I would do a yellow pepper. But you guys can do whatever colored pepper you would like. I'm going to be using mustard seed as my light color and fossilized amber to add a little bit of shadow along those stitching lines. Yellows, oranges, light pinks are really hard to add shadow. It's the same thing when you're using alcohol-based markers, and we've talked about this in many Create With Us's. But I'm going to just start by adding a light color of mustard seed over the whole pepper. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab a lot of fossilized amber on my brush.
Oh my gosh, this is genius. Someone just did the veggie on Shrinky-Dinks, as I can never say that.
Oh, cute.
Made them into earrings. How cute is that?
Oh my gosh, so cute.
I'm living in Lawn Fun land.
Oh my gosh, how cute would that be?
You need those shirts.
A t-shirt, I live in Lawn Fun land.
Yeah. And so I'm just kind of tracing from the bottom up towards the top, those stitching lines with the fossilized amber. I'm first concentrating on laying a lot of color down, again, because it is hard to get definition with a yellow. So I want to get a lot of that pigment down first. And then I'll work on cleaning my brush in my dirty water. I always have to tell you that, because I feel like when I say clean my brush, you think I have actual clean water. And then I'm just going to kind of touch on the edges of the fossilized amber into the mustard seed to just kind of soften it. Sadly, a lot of these veggies, we're not going to see them completely once we put our card together, but I really wanted to share with you guys how I would color them and add dimensions, so that hopefully you're going to want to watercolor all the veggies and make all the cards. And so if your veggies were peeking out on your design a little bit more than they are in tonight's card, you would have some sort of idea how you might want to add dimension to them. So cute. So here is my pepper. And I'm going to let it dry and see what happens, because we know Then we have our onion and / garlic. So for this one, I am going to color it all antique linen, which I'll be honest, I have a little bit of tea dye mixing into mine, which is going to be what I'm going to use to shadow it anyways. So I'm embracing that. I'm okay with it.
I need to go wash my hands now.
I know. I'm getting. Rebecca came to look at my veggies, but she's starting. It's starting to get crazy over here.
Look, I feel like she needs to wash her hands. That would be the type A in me.
Yeah.
No,
That's where
don't tell her to wash her hands. She's okay.
Well, remember, that's not where, because I'm a messy type A person, which is
such a messy.
It's such a very honest. This is probably where all my mental strife comes from. But because there's two parts of me that don't agree. I think there's the part of me that's a music major and the part of me that was a chem major.
There's always chocolate on something, and she never knows where it comes from. But there's always
chocolate. Like my destiny, because my grandmother is like that, and she wears white linen almost exclusively, and always has chocolate on herself.
That's so funny.
This antique linen, Jen?
So, yeah, I started with antique linen on the whole background, and then you can see here where I drew some stripes on the stitching up from the bottom towards the top with tea dye. And now I'm going to go in with a damp brush and just kind of blend between tea dye and antique linen just to kind of soften those edges. Give this garlic / onion a little dimension. Give it a little earthy look. Give it some variation.
By the way, there's a backdrop die coming out that, like, this combo in particular would look beautiful on.
It actually would.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, wait, which one? But oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look at mine.
Sorry. Now we're starting to get
the puppy woke up.
You guys. The puppy woke up.
You guys don't think that he turns into a monster. This is what I get at night.
All right, and then the last thing we need to watercolor is the top to our sign. So what I did for this is I used the same combo that we just did for our onion / garlic. I'm going to color the whole thing antique linen. And then I'm just going to bring a little bit of tea dye in on the edges. I'm just kind of like doing some wispy lines, almost like we do when we color our signs together in classes. And if you're new to Create with Us, you guys can find all the previous handouts, all the previous lives linked on the Create with Us page on Lawn Fawn's website. The link is, there's a short link at the bottom of the screen, but I also know Rebecca and Shari have been linking it throughout the night. But there's coloring guides and handouts and replays all available. It's kind of fun if you're kind of in a creative rut, or maybe you've had a long day, but you want to create and you just don't want to have to think too much. You could follow along with one of our past Create with Us's.
And there's, someone's asking what kind of puppy. He is an Australian Shepherd. He's about 12 weeks old. And someone's asking if there's any new Lawn Fawn mugs coming out. We don't currently have plans for new ones, but if there's a design you guys would like to see, let us know.
All right, so I'm going to set my sign aside. And then we have one more thing we're going to do with our Distress watercolor pencils, and then we're going to take a big sigh of relief and go back to what we normally do. A little bit of Copic coloring and a little bit of ink blending. So for this next step, we are going to take out our ground and our crate bits, or our apple barrel bits, whatever die you're using tonight. I know somebody mentioned they're using their barrel. I I would suggest just moving aside your other veggies because we're going to do a little splattering.
Not the sign though, Jen. Just
yeah, not the sign, and I'm not even bothering with the post. You could do the post of the sign if you want, but just these pieces that are on the screen right now. Which this is the stitched garden border. And I'm going to use ground espresso. So my background, I had used gathered twigs. I would try to use a darker brown, or you could even use the black soot pencil if you would like. You could probably get away with using your gathered twigs or whatever brown you colored this with. You just want to make sure you're getting a lot of pigment so it's nice and dark. So by choosing a dark pencil, we don't have to worry about it as much. Look at my pencils. They're like all stuck together. I love
color
it.
are you?
So
you're
I'm
picking
going to be using ground espresso. And if you want to just kind of watch first, what I'm going to do is take, you can see I took my pencil out of the case, and I'm going to take a wet brush and start to really soften the lead of my pencil so that it gets fairly drippy-ish. And then I'm going to just take my brush. Let me move up a little bit. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to just swipe off the tip towards my dirt. And I'll bring it up. You can see all those little textured sand bits. Okay.
Oh yeah, but you know how, you know.
You also could take your paintbrush, which now has, let me take a sip of water, 1 second.
This is so cool, Jen. So we could do this flicking technique even when you do like normal distress, like blended skies, huh?
Oh, for sure. Yep. So now I have a lot of pigment left on my brush. I'm going to dip it into my water, and you can also take your brush and just tap it, and that's going to lay down even bigger droplets. Now, guess what? If you droplet your ground or your bucket, whatever, and you hate it, watercolor over it and do it all over again. It's all good.
This is fun.
I love it. All right, so I'm going into ground espresso the pencil, and I'm just brushing the tip.
I can't believe what that looks like.
I'm going to do this in all my backgrounds now.
Yay.
It's so pretty.
Just give Jen Shirkus credit. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right? I just splattered my computer, but it's fine.
Well,
I've also dropped this computer 17 times, so it deserves a
good.
My your computer has dents in it.
It has dents. Yeah.
While it's still wet, you can rub it off. It's fine. I splatter
I splatter. There's literally splatter everywhere.
Yeah, Jen, when Rebecca splatters, I don't know what's going on.
It's everywhere. Stop eating all the paper.
So I'm going to set these aside. I want my droplets to just dry naturally, and I'm going to clean off my table. And we're going to just start to get ready to do our Copic coloring. So I know that you might need a hot second to just kind of readjust your crafty space. Melissa just said, I will say it a million times. Lawn Fawn stuff has so much added value because of all the amazing content they put out and the amazing talents of the design team. That's so sweet.
That's so sweet, Melissa. Oh my goodness, you have just made our night.
Somebody's asking what kind of he's an Australian Shepherd.
Australian Shepherd.
So yeah, he's an Australian Shepherd who woke up. So everybody that thinks he's so sweet and innocent sees the other side of him now. And then I love the fact somebody was making unfun cupcakes and thought they were so real the dog stole one off the table.
I love that. Also today, Allison here at the office, I wasn't sure where she was, and I came into the office and she was inside the pen.
Yeah, in the puppy
pen. With
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I keep sticking. You know what's funny is I keep sticking my hand and I keep sticking it in the ground espresso, so it still just looks like I'm covered in chocolate.
Well, you know,
because I'm usually covered in Do you find that adhesive sometimes does not stick to the back of the images after they've dried? Do you mean from watercoloring? I have not discovered that. I pretty much use either Lawn Fawn glue tube or 3L foam squares, and I haven't had a problem with stuff sticking.
And glue tube would be, you can even, by the way, if you want a foam square, you could stick a little drop of glue like under the foam square to help it stick if you had some issues. Because sometimes we've noticed this, like, for example, when I never knew this because I live in a dry place, but like that people like with heat embossing and that you really had to prep the cardstock because it's so dry here. So like, so everywhere you live, you might have like a slightly different thing. And so liquid glue is always going to be your fix for that.
Yep.
Because that Lawn Fawn is kid and pet friendly. Yes, we are.
Very kid.
And I have to say, Lawn Fawn has actually been, there's been, before Miles, there have been so many kids that have come through Lawn Fawn. They're just all, Rebecca's daughter's was here, but now she works here. So because she's grown up. So we've got, we were just talking about Ivy's boys the other day.
This used to be summer camp.
Yeah.
This was summer camp. She would come here and it was summer camp.
So fun. So we are going to color our mice. This is from Veggie Happy. And I have the coloring guide that I'm going to be following along in the handout, which Kelly is holding up for you guys. I always share a swatch of the Copics that I'm going to be using. And this is just to help you guys pick whatever coloring medium you guys are going to use. You'll be able to pick similar colors if you would like, or it just kind of gives you an idea. So I'm going to be using kind of a cool brown combo, a warm brown combo, warm grays, and then a little pinky pink to rosy cheeks. So let's go ahead and start by coloring our mice first. So I'm going to be using E43 and E41. And we've just got 4 little images to color tonight, so this won't take us too long. I'm going to actually start by shadowing all 4 of these mice first. So I tend to do 2 color blending when I color with my alcohol-based markers. So I usually put the shadow down first. So I'm going to use my darker brown, my E43. And our little rake mouse is facing the right. So I am going to shadow his left. We're going to put a little half moon around his face. I'm going to zoom in even a little bit more for you guys. There we go. I'm going to go up his ears a little bit on that back ear. Then I'm going to do a little bit along the left side of his neck, right next to that overall strap. His whole left shoulder can be this dark E43, his whole left hand. His little feet can be all this dark color. And then I just put a little bit on the right side of that right strap on his right arm. Right.
And then Shari was saying, just said exactly what I was thinking, was that these little mice look like the sepia tone from the beginning of the Wizard of Oz. That's the same exact thing.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't want to take away, like I did all a variety of brown for their outfits and their fur, because I didn't want to take away from the colors of the watercoloring. I figured we worked so hard on those tonight, and I really wanted those to be like the shining light of the cards. So that was kind of what I was going with. So now we have our little mouse here that's bending down with the flower in their hat. So I'm going to shadow right under the brim of the hat and a little bit on the right side of the face because it's facing left. So whatever way your critter is facing, you don't want to shadow because normally that's the focal point. So you don't want to shadow that side. So it's facing left. We're going to shadow right. I'm going to do a little bit going up the ears. And then a little bit at the top of the left arm. I did a little bit along the top of the right arm, along the strap. And then I did a little bit underneath the waist strap of the apron. And again, we're just adding the shadow to each of these mice, and that way we can kind of go to blending and we can see if there's any questions. Now we've got our other little mouse that's kneeling down. He is facing the right, so we're going to shadow the left. So along the left side of his face, under the brim of the hat, up his ears a little bit. His back foot can be completely colored. A little bit on the left side of the left strap and the right side of the right strap. And I think these coloring guides are helpful no matter what coloring medium you're coloring with or what colors you're coloring with, because it just helps you know where to put the shadow down. And again, kind of one of those things you don't have to think about. You can just follow the coloring guide.
I love that.
Now we've got this little mouse strutting his stuff to the left. So we're going to shadow the right side of his face, up his ears. We're going to do a thin line along his whole right backside, a little bit between his legs, the right side of his left foot. His whole left arm can be colored because it's kind of back there. And I didn't do any shadowing on his right arm. Aw, thank you, Paper Crafters Workshop. I'm guessing that's Sherry. Thank you so much.
Yeah, they are the best coloring guides.
So now I'm going to take my lighter brown, whatever that is for you guys. I'm going to be using E41. And the first thing that I do when I'm blending my alcohol-based markers is I'm going to color right next to where we put the shadow down. So kind of half on, half off of that shadow, blending those two colors together by saturating the cardstock so that you don't see the line from your previous color. Once you don't see that line, you can move on to your next shadowed area. But you'll see, like this mouse right here that's strutting his stuff to the left, I've blended completely, but everything is still white that was white. The reason why is because when you're blending, you're doing multiple layers of your lighter marker, which in a sense is getting that lighter marker to be darker than its true color. So I leave the lightest parts of the mouse white to the very end. That way I'm just adding one layer of color of that lightest marker, coloring the rest of the mouse. Don't do his belly or his inside of his ear. And that way you're getting the lightest version of that light color. Now, something I've been doing a lot more of lately is I kind of keep my dark marker uncapped. And while my cardstock is still damp from blending, and after I've finished blending, I'll go back in and add just a little touch with a very light hand, just a little touch of dark again, just to kind of build up that dimension. And I find I'm doing that a little bit more with the lighter color combos. And this is a fairly light brown color combo. Similar to how we dipped and dabbed our paintbrush. You'll see a lot of techniques that you do with your markers, you do with your paintbrush, and with your paintbrush, you do with your markers. Go for it.
So someone's asking where we get the ground. It is Stitched Garden Border die. It's an older die. If you don't have something like this, you could use with one of our hillsides. There's even like this tiny little like beach hill die that you could use as the dirt, or even just a plain hillside with this beautiful watercolor would look amazing. And then we have another question about, Jen, do you replace the large nibs with small ones on your Copics?
So I have the Copic originals that are the square barreled markers. I don't have many of the sketch markers, which are the oval barreled markers. So what I've done with a square barreled, a Copic original, you get a broad tip and a bullet tip. And I've changed my broad tip to be a brush tip. It's a shorter brush tip than you have on your sketch brush. A sketch marker, because that is a super brush. So I just find I have a little bit more control. However, with your sketch markers, you guys can change your broad tip to be a bullet tip if you would like. There's a medium bullet tip and a fine bullet tip made for the sketch markers. I recommend you buy a package of both and you try them out for yourself. It's a personal preference, I think, which one you're going to want. And I also suggest don't change all your markers at once. That is a little bit of an investment. Buy a few packages of the nibs, and as you find the need for them, change the nib out.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just showing you guys my comparison. So we didn't have any more of the brush tip. So we ended up changing the brush tip because this marker haywire. So I needed a new tip, but I've been really liking it. So now I really want to go, at least in my most used markers, and change the chisel, because I never use the chisel.
No.
Yep.
To the other end. I also have a really funny story to tell about Copics, because Miles, obviously he's been around all these craft supplies his whole life. And I got him some Crayola markers and crayons and things like that. And ever since he was really little, probably couldn't even really say the words, he'd be like, those, he's just, Mom, because I did those ones. Then I went and I gave him, I had a bunch of square ones, originals. And I thought, I'll give him my original ones. So I know that those are the ones he's playing with, since I only had 10 of them, and versus I have mostly oval shaped ones, the sketch ones. No, he comes in here and he's like, I don't want them. I want the ones that you have. And I think he likes the brush tip. That happens to be his favorite. So he knows that these ones are the ones with the brush tips. He even knows which end it is. And he doesn't use the chisel. He'll only use the end. And it's so funny because we turned him into a marker snob at 3 years old.
Well, I think you should just teach him how to change his nibs on his own original set, and you can tell him he can have markers like Auntie Jenny.
That's true. Maybe then he would like it.
Because
I still think he wants the one Mommy has, which is different than the square, But I just think it's so funny that not only has he now become picky and that he can only use Copics, now he's like, I can only use sketch markers and I can only use the one end of them.
That's so funny.
So he knows exactly what he likes.
So, and I also have a online Copic 101 class. It actually is great for any alcohol marker coloring. You don't need specific stamps, because I actually have a workbook that I've designed, and I commissioned Angie Blom to design artwork for me for the workbook that we color in the class. So it's a really great class for you to kind of practice your coloring with alcohol-based markers if that's something you're interested in. The only thing that's really Copic focused in that class is I go over changing the tips, refilling the markers, and the difference of the 3 kinds of Copics. But everything else works for any style or brand of alcohol-based markers. So, all right.
And also, if Miles is watching, Mom is so proud of you that you know so much about markers.
And I am too.
That they cloud border dye with the sandy.
Oh, that's a good idea. Using the cloud border for the dirt. I like that.
Yeah,
that's a super cute idea.
Sorry, that sounded a crazed puppy.
So I am, I was going to say something and I forgot. Oh, we are going to rosy the cheeks of the mice and add some pink to their ears and noses. I like to make sure that all the alcohol from us coloring evaporates from the paper so it's nice and dry before I rosy their cheeks. That way the color will sit on top of the brown instead of kind of soaking into the brown. So we will get to that in a minute, but first let's go ahead and color their clothing. So to color their clothing, let's go ahead and start with E25 and E21, or just another brown combo.
And someone's asking if there's a guide that compares Copic colors to Spectrum Noir. While we don't have it at Lawn Fawn, I know there's got to be one online that you could find, or maybe even a good video online that you can find comparing them. The other thing that you can do is on our Copic coloring guides, you can see that Jen has this little chart right here. And so you can just take your Spectrum Noir markers and lay them next to these colors and pick the ones that are closest, because you can definitely follow this guide here with any marker, Spectrum Noir, Olo markers, anything that you have with those colors. So as long as you find kind of colors that match, and that's what this little guide here is for. You could also match that to watercolors, all sorts of different things, color pencils, because the colors are there. It doesn't have to be Copics. That just happens to be what we have.
So I'm taking my darker brown, which happens to be the E25. I dabbed a teeny bit at the base of the overall straps. I dabbed a little bit on the overalls under his right armpit. And then I followed along the left side, and I'm on the mouse with the rake. I'm sorry, I should have said that. I followed along his left side, and then we're going to color his pocket, a little bit under the pocket, and then I just kind of traced along the bottom part of the rake handle. And again, we're going to shadow all the clothes, and then we'll go back and blend. I did a different color combo for the overalls and aprons than I did for the hats. So right now we're just going to do overalls and aprons. So for the mouse that has the flower in their hat, I'm going to color the tie, that band around the apron, completely with the darker brown. And then I'm going to just do a thin line above the tie on their belly and a thin line below the tie on their belly. And on the tie that's going around the side of the mouse, I'm going to just do a little bit underneath the tie. And then on the mouse that has a hat but no flower, we're going to go along their backside, along their little bum. We're going to do a little bit at the base of the overall straps. And then I'm going to basically follow along that left arm on the front of the apron, overalls, whatever he's wearing. And then I fill in the pocket completely.
And somebody is asking if there's a year 14 stamp set. There is, and it's coming out on our May 16th release, our summer release. And May 16th will be our whole summer release. So it's a big release. We're excited about it.
Yay! So now I'm going to take my lighter brown, the E21, and I'm going to blend along those edges. So half on, half off, continuously dabbing until those two colors blend together. And you might find that these, if you're using these exact colors, it takes a little bit longer to blend than the other two colors we used. It's a little bit more of a stretch. So it just takes a little bit more saturation and a little bit more dabbing. Once I have the edges of the shadow blended, I'll finish filling in the rest of those white bits with one layer of that light marker. And we're just going to do the same thing on all their clothes.
This reminds me of that monochromatic Lawn Fanatics challenge.
Yes.
People have done. Which, is the bingo challenge still going on, Jen?
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, we have a Lawn Fanatics challenge team. And we have a new challenge pretty much every 2 weeks. And the challenge right now is a bingo card, meaning you're going to look at the bingo card and you're going to pick, are you going to do everything in the I row, everything in the O row? Are you going to do a diagonal? And each spot is like a technique or something Lawn Fawn related. So like a rainbow, a critter, hot foil. And so you have to do everything in that row on your project. And
it's so fun.
Yeah, and I think actually it just started on Monday, I believe so. So that means you still have this weekend and all next week to make your card and post it.
And remember, we call it a challenge, but it's not because it's a competition. It's a challenge because it challenges you to try something new. So if you're ever just wanting to, just join a group of people that are having so much fun creating, or you need that extra thing to get you excited about what you're going to make that night, definitely check out the Lawn Fanatic Challenge and this bingo one. I just think it's brilliant. It's so fun.
Yeah, and the challenge, you can win a $50 gift card to lawnfawn.com, which who does not want that? And it's by random number generator. So it's not like a popularity contest or anything. We just say, oh, there was 100 people who entered this month. So we put it in random number generator 1 through 100, and it picks a random number for us. And that's who wins, which I think is so fun. So everybody has a chance to win. You just need to enter. All right, so now we're going to do the hats. And so I use 2 colors. It's a little tricky to do 2 colors on these hats, but you can try it if you want, or you can just always do just 1 color and they're going to look so cute no matter what. I'm still going to use that E25 that was our darker brown, but now it's going to be our lighter brown. And then I'm going to use E29 for our darker brown. So I'm just kind of switching it up. And what I did with both of the hats is, and I'm going to kind of hold mine sideways because it's going to be a little bit easier for me to do. You want to have a really light hand if you want to have a really small line, but I'm going to do a little thin line with my darkest brown above the line of the brim of the hat and below the line of the brim of the hat. And then I'm going to kind of trace a thin line underneath the brim of the hat, along the face and under it, along the face and under it. And we're going to do that same thing on both hats. A little thin line below and above that line of the brim of the hat, and then underneath the brim of the hat and along the face on both sides. And we just want to do a thin line so we still have some white space because we want to try to preserve a little bit of a highlight. Again, I know it's tricky, but it's a good thing to practice. And so now I'm going to take that E25 and I'm going to color pretty much right on where we put that E29. You're basically just combining the two. You're not really extending the shadow, which is what we do a lot of the times. And this way it'll allow us to still have a teeny bit of white space that we can fill in with just 1 layer of this E25. So we have a little bit of a highlight on this hat. Just something cute.
Has a question.
Yeah.
Somebody has a question for the challenge. She wants to know, does it have to be your own design, or could it be a card we've just made for a class, or inspired by a project we've seen on the Lawn Fun blog or video?
So I think it definitely could be. I mean, we don't really have a written rule about this. I think in general, we're trying to encourage you to create something of your own. But if it's inspired by a design team member or a class you've taken, I think that's totally fine. I would say it's nice to give credit to where you got your inspiration, but we just want you to have fun and create a fun project.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just about sharing your artwork. And I think as long as you say, oh, I was inspired by Jen to make this, I think that's totally fun.
It's so fun. Margot said she made her hat a light yellow. She needed a pop of color for the mice. I love it.
I love that.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is the rake. So the handle of the rake, that long pole, I did all E29. You're probably all like, thank you, Jen Shirkus, for not doing 2 colors. And then that base kind of above the prongs of the rake, I did use 2 colors. I'm laughing at myself because sometimes I get a little crazy with my coloring, but I enjoy it. So I did a little bit of W6 on the left side, just a little line. And then I dabbed over that with W4. and then finished filling in one layer, just to add a little bit of definition. All right, the last thing we have to do to our mice is my favorite part, is rosy up those cheeks. So I'm going to take R30. You can use any pink, R20 works, whatever you'd like. And I'm just going to dab those cheeks. Just gently dab them with your marker a couple times and kind of see what it looks like. You can always go back and add a little bit more as they dry. I'm also going to add color to their noses, a little bit up from the base of their ear. And on the flower, I left it white like a daisy, but I colored the center of the flower with R30. I just love roséing these little cheeks. It makes me smile every single time.
Every time. It's just funny. It's so cute.
And the little guy that's strutting his stuff to the left, I'm going to take that belly and I'm going to take the R30 and I'm going to do a thin line along the right side of that belly. And then I actually am going to go over that thin line with the E41, which was the lightest brown that we used to color him. This is just going to kind of tone down that pinky look, kind of make it look like it's a little bit more part of his fur. Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
It's adorable. It's so cute with them like monochromatic like this. I think it's so sweet.
Yay! Barbara says she loved the ideas shared for watercoloring with the pencils. I'll need to play with that technique as I usually color and use my water brush. Yay. Yeah, just keep playing. And you're going to find what you like to do, you know, what works for you. All right, you guys, we are going to quickly stencil our backgrounds. So you should have 2 pieces of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 white cardstock. I'm using Distress White Heavy Stock because that's my favorite to ink blend on. But you can use any white cardstock you want to use. And I purposely brought back this stencil. This is the same stencil that we used in the last Create With Us, and we've used it in other Create With Us's. That's one
Sorry,
thing.
all of a sudden I had a dog biting, taking my shoelaces.
No worries. That's one thing I like to try to do during these Create With Us classes and even my online classes is to use supplies that we've used previously, just so that, you know, we're using the things that we spent money on and we're getting more fun ideas with them. What is the name of this stencil, Kelly? I'm totally blanking.
Spring Blossoms background stencils, which is actually one of my favorite stencils ever.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. So we are going to start with one of our backgrounds, and we're going to start with the greenery. So you can kind of tell that it's a 3-part stencil, but one of the parts is like all the stems and the leaves. Anytime I am stenciling, I like to use the Make Art Station, which is a magnetic board.
And I'm using the stamp wheel.
Awesome. So yeah, the Altenew stamp wheel.
Yeah. Or just, you know.
Yeah. Whatever you have. So I use a little bit of removable adhesive to put my panel of cardstock on my board. And then I am going to grab the stencil. And because this is a layering stencil, I like to make sure that I can read the Lawn Fawn website. And I always make sure that's right side up and towards my belly, just so I remember. This has a grid on the mat, so I can kind of keep an eye on what grids I'm lined up with. And this board comes with strong magnets, so I'm going to use those to hold my stencil in place. So I'm going to be using Lawn Fawn Celery Stick, which is a really light green. I'm still learning where everything is in my drawers over here. But this is a really nice, light, soft green. And I'm going to use a blending brush. I'm going to ink up my blender brush. I like to tap it off to just kind of let some of that ink off of my brush. And I'm going to do just a very soft dusting of color. And I kind of take my brush and swish it one way and then swish it the other way. So clockwise and then counterclockwise to kind of get those bristles of my blending brush into all of the grooves of the stencil. But again, I really wanted my watercolored veggies to shine on these cards. So I'm doing a very, very soft application of ink. Every time I ink up my blending brush in my ink, I tap it off just to kind of let some of that ink down.
Oh, okay.
And then we get to peel off the stencil and do our first reveal, which is so pretty.
Every time I lift up a stencil, I feel like it's one of those old makeover shows, you know?
It's so exciting.
Yes,
Every
you're
single
like,
time.
"Oh." Yeah, every time. It's so fun.
So exciting. So now I am going to take, we have two flowery parts of this stencil. Remember, this is a 3-part stencil. So the first one that I'm going to do is use the one with the larger openings, this one here on the right. And again, I want to make sure that lawnfawn.com is reading the right way and pointing towards my belly. And what's really nice about this stencil is it has the etching on the stencil. I was like, oh, it's not lining up. Did I mess up? But no, it's right. It's my late night Friday brain that's not lined up.
I had the same thing too. I was like, oh, I need stronger glasses.
And so I'm going to line the stencil up. I also couldn't remember my grid, like where my stencil was lined up on the grid. So I had kind of two things going for me. And I am going to use Mermaid Lawn Fawn ink. It's a miracle I'm not using Merman. Mermaid is a little bit grayer, I feel. I don't know if that's a good description.
I agree.
Yeah.
Blue.
And
it's bluer.
Bluer, yeah. Less green, more blue. And for this one, we definitely want to have a very, very soft hand because our third stencil that's going to lay some detail on top of this stencil, we are going to use the same ink pad, but we're going to have a heavier hand. So that's why we want to have a really, really soft dusting of color on this background. And I'm repeating myself by saying a soft hand because I'm very heavy-handed. So I have to really kind of remind myself and concentrate to get a very soft dusting of color. So pretty. Ta-da!
Yay!
And then we are going to take the third stencil. Again, line it up. Does anybody else hold their breath while they're lining up stencils?
I do.
Okay, good. I'm like,
ooh. I know, because and then once it lines into place, you're like, oh yeah, I got it. But for some reason, while you're doing it, it feels like, oh,
yeah, like it's like, oh yeah, Jen, right along the grid where every other stencil just lined up. I mean, come on. All right, so now we're going to go back in with Mermaid, but we can have a little bit of a heavier hand this time. So this is a really fun technique where if you don't have a lot of ink pads, it's totally okay because you can get a nice variety of color from just one ink pad. really,
sure.
we probably could have done 3 tones of blue and made this a whole monochromatic background, which is what we're going to do 2 tones again on our next background. But the greenery would be really pretty blue as well.
Oh, yeah.
Josie's patiently waiting to borrow my stencil.
This is my workout today.
I know. East Coast Fawny over here. I have doubles of a lot of things, but not the stencils.
I will say that even here at the Lawn Fun office, we just like Rebecca and I are here sharing one stamp chamois.
Chamois.
We have one stamp chamois.
Oh my gosh.
We're
we
like,
don't know why we do it, but we do it.
we'll have one 6x6 pad. We like take it down till there's 2 sheets left, and then we're like, okay, now we could get another.
We joke, we are like, well, we always have favorite colors in the pads because those are the ones we don't have.
So I have a lot of duplicates of things because of all the in-person classes and events that I host. However, it's all still packed. So before Josie came down, I'm like, you got to bring all your stuff. She's so used to me just having all the things. I'm like, you better pack some supplies, girl, because I don't have it all. All right, so this is our first background. And then what we're going to do for our second background is we're not going to use the greenery stencil, that first one that we did. We're just going to use the 2 flowery backgrounds. So I'm going to start with the larger flower background. And I'm going to do a very soft dusting of color. I'm only laughing because Jack is literally galloping up and down the hallway. It's past his bedtime. So I'm going to do a very soft dusting, and then we're going to do that second flowery background and do a heavy-handed dusting. And I really love, again, we used this stencil last Create With Us. So if you were with us, hopefully you remember. If you weren't, you can go check it out. But I love just seeing all the different ways we can use these stencils. I think stencils have so many different things you can do with them. They are so worth their money. And you can use them over and over and over and over. And I just love them.
I like, yeah, it's so many different colors, so many cool backgrounds. And it's just fun. Like,
yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I made that, you know?
Yeah. I've done some cool techniques with distressed watercolor pencils with them. Just saying.
Ooh, I have to do that in another class.
Yeah. And then I'm going to put down my second stencil. Here I am again, holding my breath.
I know this and going up and down the slide at the park today are my two exercises.
That's so funny. Yeah. May steal my celery ink, Josie. Yep. I did use the big one. Yep. Do you have a board?
I'm just going to use this glass. Oh, this, yeah.
Wow, you packed yours. That's a crazy notion. All right, and I'm going to have a little bit of a heavier hand on this next stencil. So Josie is a teacher full-time, but for the past year, well, for a very long time, she's been helping me. But officially, for the past year, she's been helping me part-time. So some of you guys might be getting emails from her, and she's helping me do my handouts for classes and such. But we keep joking about like work perks, like how fun it is to like help me, right? It's not always work. So like part of it is like, look at, she gets to take a free class. I kitted for her. We're going to do, my friend Sharon's doing her first online class tomorrow, a mixed media class. So we're going to do that all day. And then we're going to work our butt off the rest of her week.
Oh, Paper Crafters Workshop loves a good stencil reveal. I wanted to do your idea that you said, Jen, of doing the whole monochromatic.
Oh, I love it. It looks awesome.
Isn't that so pretty?
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Well, I want to try this in a gray too. I think that's
gorgeous. Yeah. Gray would look really nice with these cards because then they really wouldn't take away from the veggies. Okay. How's everybody doing? How's any East Coast peeps still with us? I know it is getting late.
Who's our late night crafters here? We have a late night tonight. You know, we should do a poll is to see what the ideal time and day is.
That would be a Shari.
Well,
Let's see.
I would first do a day if Shari's listening.
Yeah,
I would first do a day. I would do a weeknight, weekend night, or weekend day. Do you agree, Kelly?
Yeah, so let's see. So let's see what we can add here.
Oh, Kelly's doing it again. Wow.
Yeah, I like making the poll. It's fine. Okay, so how about weeknight, right?
Yeah.
Weekday. Oh, that's confusing. How about this? I would Monday through Thursday.
There you go. Yeah.
During the day. Then we've got Monday through Thursday. Because I feel like Friday night's a different thing, you know?
So I have a very important announcement. Can I say my important announcement real quick?
Yes.
I did not trim my cards down or use the outside in stitched rectangle. These are full panel cards. And I did not glitter all of the things. So if you glitter and trim your panels down to be 4 by 5 1/4, you get extra credit for class tonight. I did not put them on card bases.
I'm over it.
Oh, we got Michigan still here. Scrappy Chic.
Yay.
Long Island still here. Maryland. Woo woo. East Coast. We got Shari in North Carolina.
I'm only allowed to 4. So we switched it. So there's a poll going in now. Let us know.
Perfect.
We have got weekday at night, weekday during the day, weekend during the day, weekend at night.
Perfect.
And by at night, we mean like this 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. start Pacific. Not for obviously it's later for all our East Coast buddies.
So we are going to put our cards together. I did a combination of glue tube and foam squares. On your handout, it does tell you what's popped up and what's not. So if you get behind or you're not sure, that is listed in the handout for you. I think what I did first for this one is I kind of started to put my crate together. Okay. So,
and before Paper Crafters Workshop, I just want to say Paper Crafters Workshop's about to go. So I wanted to say bye. And also, make and take in store tomorrow for a Lawn Fawn make and take. So if you are in the Ontario, Canada area, check out Paper Crafters Workshop. They will have a make and take tomorrow and it's going to be busy. So that sounds really fun.
I love it. I love it. I just saw your comment, Josie.
Which part?
Checking my temperature. Was that about me? Because I didn't glitter?
Oh, that's not me.
Oh, I thought that was you that said that. Oh, Shari's telling you to check my temperature. I just said Josie Nevers. Got it. So we're going to put the crate together. And whenever I'm looking at the crate, initially, I always look at it like this. And then I remember, oh no, it goes like this. It has this really cute slice in the top for us to put our veggies in. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I'm always like pleasantly reminded when I start to put it together. Okay. So I'm just going to use, I still have some little holes to poke here because we were cutting with distress watercolor cardstock, which is fairly thick. Sometimes any details on your die might need a little pokey tool. And I'm going to put the 3 boards on the crate with Lawn Fawn glue tube.
This glue tube's almost done. There's something so satisfying of finishing the glue tube, you know?
100%. And what I do, because my watercolor cardstock is curling a little bit, which is okay, I use just an acrylic block. So I put 1 plank down, and I'm just setting my acrylic block down on top of it as I go to put my glue tube on my next plank. I'll lift up that acrylic block and put my next piece down. Put my block down, glue on my next one. Lift the block and put that 3rd one down. We are definitely in full-on spring mode here on Cape Cod and in New England, and I have this tickle in my nose. We've got everything blooming.
And we went to, for the first time, I'd never been before, in Carlsbad, which is just about an hour south of here. There are these beautiful flower fields, and they have like millions of ranunculus flowers. And so we went, and it was so beautiful, but we were, all 3 of us were sneezing, me and Mike and Miles. It was, oh my gosh, it was so gorgeous. It was stunning.
I bet. I'm going to add my little topper to my tomato.
I call this the tomatoes toupee.
I
don't know why. It just looks like a little tomato hair hat.
And again, I'm going to throw my acrylic block on it. I'm going to get my beet. So the smaller of the 3 purpley things that we did. And what I'm going to do for these guys that have, I love that Lawn Fawn included the little slice at the top for us to put our greenery. What I like to do is I take a paper piercer and I kind of just put my paper piercer tool in there and drag it back and forth. This just kind of opens it up. I'm going to slide that greenery in just like so. And then I flip it over and I am going to put a foam square half on the base of that greenery and half on the beet, just like that. So it's like holding it in place. And then I am going to add some foam squares to the leaves on here. Those of you that have been taking my online classes this spring, you guys know I was in a panic because so we just recently moved. We're renovating our basement for me to be able to be organized for my classes and my business and everything. So half of my crafty stuff is in boxes still. And I didn't think it was going to be this long, just like any construction project takes longer than you anticipate. And so I was in a panic that I was going to run out of foam squares. I mean, I know I can buy foam squares, but if you guys knew how many foam squares I already own, but I would just like everybody to be reassured I have found the bucket of foam squares.
Oh my goodness. Someone here lives right by the flower fields. That's so cool.
Oh, that's so cool. So I just put foam towards the top because this bottom part is going to get tucked into the crate. It's going to all kind of make sense in a second. And then now let's just build one of our carrots. And if you're not sure about where to put foam, just put foam to hold the greenery in and then just wait and you'll see as we start to assemble this. So I'm using my paper piercer just to open up that little area to put the greenery in. Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh no, I said that I saw that that Deborah ordered the Stitch Veggie sets when I was doing the live with Jennifer McGuire, and she's having so much fun with them. And I love that. That makes my day. Oh my goodness.
Yay. That was such a fun live. If you didn't catch it, it was just so fun to hear Jen and Kelly chit-chatting. You can definitely still catch the replay.
Yes, for sure. I bet Shari could link that too. It was super fun. And I made a veggie card for that day too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really fun, it was a fun one. It was
Yeah.
and there was a different technique with the veggies again. That's why they're so fun. You can do so many techniques with them.
So you can see my foam at holding the greenery on and on the little leaves. So now what we're going to start to do is build our crate. And I put my tomato all the way in. Honestly, it was just a filler. I didn't really want to see a lot of tomato. I love tomatoes, but you guys know. So I'm going to just put a little bit of glue tube behind the crate here, kind of in the center, and slide that tomato in through that top little slice. And I don't have it going all the way down because I want the little greenery to poke up. You're probably going to get like gluey fingers. I always have my flour sack cloth in my lap, so I'm just kind of wiping my hands. And then behind that is going to be the beet. Josie, do you need glue?
I can wait.
There's tons of glue in the drawers there.
Okay.
One of the drawers. I don't remember which one, but. So I'm going to put some glue actually on the front of the bottom of the beet, like that. And then I'm going to slide this in behind the tomato. So cute. And then we're going to take our carrot. Again, I'm going to add just a little bit of glue on the tip of the bottom of the carrot. And I have the carrot pretty high. Again, we just kind of want stuff to fill. Just like that. And I'm going to flip this over. Okay, so we've got our beet, our tomato, our carrot. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to add foam to all the things. Here's this too, Josie, actually.
You guys are so sweet. I'm so glad that you like that chalkboard card. It was a recreation by a card by Yainea from our design team. And I just thought it was the most beautiful thing. And it was so much fun to create. And it was so much fun to get to craft with Jennifer. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. It was a blast. I was nervous to be live because normally Jen's got she's got all the crafting going when we do our lives here.
Yep. That's why I'm so excited for my class tomorrow with my friend Sharon. She's doing a mixed media distress class online, and I get to be the student. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, how fun. When's the last time you got to be a student? It's been a long time, huh?
I'm like trying to think. Yeah, it was probably like a Dina Wakely class pre-pandemic. It's been a long time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, see all the foam. All the foam. And so now I am going to peel and stick this onto my card.
I need one of my little jars to get all my...
I just was thinking that. I just pulled it. Oh. Oops. This foam does not...
this beautiful jar, and one of our distributors, she gave me this.
It's so pretty.
It's so beautiful. And so I love it. My hands are all stained, and you know how I know it? Because as I'm peeling up all the liner papers, I'm turning the foam squares brown.
I love it. My job here is done.
Yeah.
I missed the result of our poll. Is it still there?
I think it's still going. Let me check it out.
It's still going, but
you guys haven't answered it yet. Make sure to click the poll because you just click it. It's very close. Well, the one we know for sure no one likes is weekday during the day.
Yeah,
so that's a no-go. Weekend during the day and weekday at night are tied. 25 and 26%, and weekend at night is 32% is the winner, which is actually surprising to me because I thought maybe people would have, going out to dinner or something like that.
I think maybe because I didn't answer the poll, I can't see it anymore.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jenny. You're so sweet. And she liked our thanks stamp set that I showed on that. It's like that one's like an oldie but a goodie because it has all the perfect thank you things on it.
Oh my gosh. So I'm totally telling on you.
More kitty antics.
Just massaging it, like nothing crazy, like doing one of these. It's everywhere.
Josie just did something we've all done before, where you're squeezing the glue tube so hard because it's clogged.
Hard.
Oh, whatever. And it literally just exploded everywhere. The top, like popped up and hit the ceiling. She has glue all over the floor.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I'm laughing. Okay. So you guys, we have our little sign here, and I did not have us stamp it until we watercolored it because I wanted to make sure the stamping showed up really nice. So I stamped "Let Us Celebrate" on there, and I feel like I did something crazy, right? Did I separate the... Yeah, I did. Look at me.
There's a "Let Us Celebrate" in the stamp set, in the Veggie Happy stamp set.
Oh, phew. I was like, it's getting too late tonight for me to be doing crazy stuff. Thank you, Kelly. You're right.
Yes, you're all good.
I thought I had a stacked sentiment that I made one line, and I'm like, Jen Shirkus, what were you thinking? You okay over there, Joss? It's in her hair.
Good job, right?
You're going to make me start to cough. Sorry. I can't take her anywhere, you guys.
What's going on over there? But you're having me too much fun.
I wish Josie was on camera like we originally planned. She has it all in her hair.
Oh no.
I already think I have. Sorry. Oh my gosh.
That's just staying in there.
So that's just staying in there in your hair. Luckily, the Lawn Fawn glue tube is water soluble.
It's water-based. Honestly, it might give your hair a beautiful shine. It might be the best hair serum you've ever tried. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Let us know because I will put glue tube in my hair.
My friend Lisa, who helps me kit for all my events, she's in the chat. She goes, Josie christened your new craft space for you.
Oh yeah, it's like when you break the champagne against the edge of the boat.
Yep.
You exploded the glue tube.
Oh my gosh, this is cracking me up. All right, sorry you guys. All right.
Oh,
so
I love that we have a lot of introverts that like their weekend crafting plans. I love that.
I love it. Well, that was a whole nother story. I'll have to share it another time. But I said to Josie, I went grocery shopping today, and I don't go grocery shopping very much. I'm very lucky. Chris does most of our grocery shopping. I didn't know what I was doing in the grocery store. And I said to Josie, I go, I think I need to leave the house more often. Like working for myself and working from home. I don't get out often. Okay. Stamped "Let Us Celebrate." And what I'm going to do is flip that over and flip the post over. And I'm going to add a foam square to hold them together. Add some foam squares along the sign. I don't really add any to the post. You most certainly could. I bet a foam strip would fit there really nicely. We all know how much I love those foam strips.
So, oh my God. I don't even know where that went.
This wasn't even the messy class. Tomorrow's the messy class. I'm a little nervous about you.
That scared me.
I'm going to get you a rain slicker poncho. All right, and then we're going to stick this little sign in behind the carrot. Now, if you have a foam square behind the carrot that's in the way, don't hesitate to just cut some of your post off, right? You can make your post a little shorter. And we're just going to kind of add that in at an angle. So cute. Then we're going to take... Yeah.
Someone's asking if we have any other plans for more sympathy card things, as we don't have many. I know we don't have too many on the site, but we have a few. And, you know, we'll continue to come out with them. We often will also put in thinking of you type sentiments within stamp sets so that you could make different types of cards with different sets. Or you could even take some of the sympathy type sentiments that are in some of our sets and combine them with other die cuts and things like that. So you could definitely mix and match and create something really beautiful.
So now I'm putting together one of my turnips, adding foam to hold the greenery in, and a little bit of foam on the back. And then we are going to add this on the right side of the front of the crate. So we're going to kind of fill in those gaps of the left and the right of the crate that we didn't have anything in behind. Now we're going to add our little yellow pepper. Again, just using that paper piercer to open up that little slit to put the stem. This one, I think I actually added a little bit of glue tube because it's kind of a short stem. It doesn't really go in super far. And I think what I did for this one, you guys, is I kind of figured out where this is going to lay on the crate. And so you can see this upper right-hand corner is laying over the crate. So I'm going to use glue tube in the upper right corner and a few foam squares in the lower left corner. I do that a lot where I'll mix it up like so that it lays flat against something that's already popped up. And again, because we use watercolor paper and things are all kind of not curling, but have a little bit of raise to them, I'm just going to throw that acrylic block on top of that pepper. That's going to hold it down on that crate and let that wet glue set as I put together one of my cauliflowers. I absolutely love the cauliflower and lettuce part of this because you can make like romaine or iceberg. There's so many options. Like, it's amazing with like very few dyes. Again, you can make all the veggies in the world. Not really, but you know what I mean. Oh my gosh, we need a fall veggie set, Kelly.
Oh yeah. What other? Oh, like
squash.
Oh, we've got the gourds. Now we're gonna have to combine.
That's right. Hello. I colored those. That's right. I'm losing my mind.
Oh my gosh, somebody said to throw some glitter at Josie. That's cracking me up.
I don't think so. Yeah.
She is wearing her glitter all of the things t-shirt. I mean, all of the things.
Also, some people are saying that poor little cloud that's just in your trash.
Oh,
why that makes
So I told Josie the story of this. And I'm sure, again, just like the glue explosion Josie just had, I'm sure all of you guys can relate. I stamped, colored, die cut this for a card upcoming for Lawn Fawn's blog and couldn't find it anywhere. I had all the other pieces for the card, couldn't find it. I spent way too long looking for it when I essentially literally could have just stamped and die cut another one. I finally stamped and die cut another one in my head saying, why did you wait so long? You should have just done this like 15 minutes ago. And then when I was cleaning up my desk, of course, I found the cloud. So that's the sad little cloud in my dish. And I'm trying not to save little things like that.
He's like the sad little reject cloud.
So I have like a whole container of like colored bits of Lawn Fawn that
We did, and there's a little boy named Miles who seals them all.
Yes.
I honestly should
found
send
our stash.
I should honestly send mine to Miles.
So somebody is saying that her daughter's water just broke. And her grandson is.
Oh.
Oh my
Dang.
That's
So-
so exciting.
Congratulations.
Oh my goodness. Hopefully it's a quick labor for your daughter. We're going to be thinking of her.
That's so
I know,
exciting.
but maybe not quite as quick. Well, mine wasn't like,
Yours was not quick.
it wasn't quick. It was just intense. I didn't know I was in labor because I was in some sort of deep denial because I was 42 pregnant. So like, obviously the baby was coming. I just showed up to my appointment like, it's fine. And they're like, you're having this baby right now.
And then they're also talking about the Billy Joel concert that was on TV.
Guess-
The Piano Man.
Oh, because it got cut off.
off.
Yeah, but
So-
guess who was actually at a Billy Joel concert?
I was there Saturday night. It was so good. He's so good live.
So amazing. So I just added the sentiment banner with glue tube, and I'm going to add my block on there just to kind of let things sit. And then we are going to add 2 of the little mice with foam squares.
I'm like still trying to find all my veggies.
Okay, we're doing good.
Oh my gosh.
Just need to find that later.
I absolutely adore these little mice like climbing and hanging out with these massive veggies. I think it just is so funny.
Right? It's so cute.
So cute.
Well, it's funny because we have so many mice stamp set and Miles loves to play with them. And the other day there was a picture, he has a highlights magazine and they had like a drawing of mice living underground. He was like, Mom, why are they underground? Because I think like, he just sees our mice like living their best life, you know?
That's so funny. All right. So now we're going to start our second card.
And then also somebody suggested mice like in New York City, like in a brownstone.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we might have to do that because we haven't had city dwelling
That
mice.
would be cute because then we could bring back, don't we have a taxi car or do we just have the ambulances and stuff? But you could do a taxi car too.
Yeah, we could do like we should do a whole New York set for Rebecca.
Yeah, so seriously, I'm like, we can have brownstones and taxis and
Well, if you're going to do a set for Rebecca, Jen Shirkus, the mermaid queen, would love some more mermaids.
I feel like we have a lot of mermaids already there, Jen, too, though. You know.
For enough mermaids.
One, there's never enough mermaids. 2, I've literally made 9,035 cards with them. An add-on. I would be happy with an add-on. All right, so we're going to put together our other veggies. Because then we're going to kind of tuck them and stuff into our stitched garden border. So I'm going to just add the front layer to our lettuce with glue tube. And the front layer of our other cauliflower with glue tube. My glue tube is also almost gone. I'm hoping it survives the class. Because I don't want to use Josie's glue tube.
Yeah.
If there's even any glue left in it.
Oh, yeah.
It's questionable. All right. Again, just using that paper piercer to open up the area to put the little greenery. I'm going to kind of put in the carrot. And the turnip. I'm going to flip those over to put foam squares to hold them in. You could use glue tube and then foam squares too. This is where I'm kind of like, I want to do it quick. So.
This card is so cute. I'm finishing my
Your crate.
crate card. but it's just so cute.
Thank you. I was really excited when I made these.
These are, I mean, they're really, I mean, your cards are always beautiful. These ones are, what would be the veggie version if they take the cake?
They take the veg.
Yeah, they take the turnip.
And then for the onion / garlic, ooh, I love how that dried. I'm admiring my watercoloring. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue tube behind the top of that to add the greenery. And then I am going to reinforce it with some foam squares. You can see why I was worried that I was going to run out of foam squares, you guys. Well, like when I was packing, I mean, I packed my studio space to make sure I could quickly unpack my studio space, but I wasn't thinking about backup stock.
Yeah, I'm realizing that our poll might be skewed because Friday is winning, but it's also Friday night. So,
Oh, true.
Everybody can be here.
We might have to do one more poll in the next one and then take the.
Oh, someone's asking if we have any military mice. We don't have any military mice, but that's a super cute idea.
So now what I did is you can see the cauliflower, the carrot, and the lettuce are behind the garden border. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue tube to kind of place them behind that garden border. And I'm putting the glue tube on the front of the veggie towards the bottom. And I'm going to kind of just tuck those veggies behind. I like everything's so high up because I was like, oh, I don't want to cover my watercoloring.
I know, I felt like that too. I'm like, wait, but
But the good thing is we can watercolor more. These would be really cute with just like one veggie, a nice sentiment, call it done, right? It doesn't have to have all the pieces. I just put all the pieces because I wanted to share how to do them with you guys. But you can make some really simple watercolors.
we might have to find a way to include some of this watercolor in the next class, the next Create With Us class. I think that'd be really fun. Like maybe not the whole card's watercolor, but maybe we do a background, like a stencil idea or like the backdrop idea, which I think would be really pretty with these. I think that'd be so fun.
That's doable. I haven't designed those cards yet. It's on my very soon to-do list, but.
Yeah, because everyone's having so much fun with it. I think that could be really cool.
Yay. So
by everyone, I guess me, because this is fun.
So I have these 3 veggies in the back here. And then what I did is I'm going to tuck my turnip into one of our front little hill slivers we've got. So I'm going to add a little glue tube to the front bottom of that turnip and tuck that in. And don't worry, like some of my glue tube slid out. I'm just going to wipe that off. Wipe it on my flour sackcloth. All good. And now that this part is done, you don't have to worry about your onion / garlic yet. But now that this is done, we can flip this over and foam all the things. Basically, foam the backdrop and what are the garden dirt. And what I actually do is I use my foam strips and I just take 2 at a time and just do a little frame. Just like this.
Somebody's saying we need to do like the Richard Scarry. Nurse might. I'm like, yeah, we've been talking
yes.
about the Richard Scarry.
Oh my gosh, especially because my son loves it. So we've been
talking about the whole Richard Scarry.
Yeah, exactly. He loves cars and trucks and things that go. My brother-in-law's mom got it for him and we obsess. I mean, he still loves it, but for a while, that's all we could read. And the book's like, it's long, you know, if you're trying to do it as a bedtime story. And we would read it all the time.
So here's my foam application. And then I'm just going to peel this off and add it to my other background. Oh my gosh, I can always hear Gus walking. Again, Chris is not here, and so the kitties are like, what is going on? Nobody's sitting in the living room with us. It's past our bedtime. They don't know what's going on.
The school teacher mice, school mice would be very cute too, someone was mentioning.
Yeah, that would be really cute. Like a chalkboard. All right, so I'm going to add this to my card. Remember, you guys get extra credit if you're trimming your backgrounds and glittering all of the things. Make sure you tag us, Lawn Fawn and me, so we can see what you've created. While we are working on this card, I was going to put the coupon code up on the screen again for you guys. So if you want to play a little bit more with your distress watercolor pencils, but you want maybe a little bit more guidance, definitely check out my online class. I hosted it last spring, but you can still take it at your own pace. You still get access to all the videos, the handouts, and spoiler alert, I'm going to have a part 2 coming up soon. So it's not required to take part 1, but it's definitely good to take part 1 because it's kind of a good foundation. So very excited.
I'm excited to try these pencils with Miles too. I think you'll think they're fun.
Oh yeah.
Especially for kids, I think you could have them scribble and then.
For sure. Yep.
You know.
And they're pretty hardy. Like they're not very delicate. So now I'm adding my little mice. I added my garlic / onion with some foam squares.
I over foamed.
Nah.
I'm like, is that possible?
And then the last thing to finish off this card is we're adding some cute little speech bubbles. I love how it looks like the veggies are talking. This was one of the things that I was like in my room by myself and it made me smile. I also like this because there is no like major sentiment on the front, but it gives you space to be able to do that on the inside.
No, I've been trying to decorate the insides of my cards more this year. Don't always remember, but it's fun to do.
I tend to write a lot on the inside of my cards, like, I don't know, like a little message and stuff. So that's why I don't tend to, but yeah. I know people ask all the time, what do you put on the insides? So cute.
Jen, I have to say, these are some of my favorite cards. Thank
you.
It's beautiful.
Appreciate that. I'm always trying to think of new things to teach you guys, whether it be in this, you know, Create With Us, our free mini classes, or my online classes. So sometimes, you know, struggle can be real sometimes.
Okay. I'm getting there.
You're good. No worries. I kind of went a little speedy. But remember, if you guys have that handout, or you can still download the handout, it does tell you what's popped up, what isn't. I try to be as thorough as possible in those handouts, whether they're for these classes or my online classes. Thank you guys so much. I'm looking at the comments.
Someone.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you see me? You can answer, Jen. They're asking, how do we line up the extra piece on the bottom on the lettuce?
the extra piece. Oh, did you do your lettuce yet, Josie? Can I see your and the other piece?
Is it this big one?
Yeah.
They're very similar.
All I did was you actually don't have to do anything if you didn't want to, but what I did is the stitching that's on the background of the main layer, I just covered that with the leaves. Just
Yep.
That's how I,
Yeah, that's how it is. And
okay.
so the stitching's there, so you could just, if you wanted to do something quick, you could even just do that,
But this is also like this so you could trim it, right? To make romaine lettuce. Didn't I see that, or am I making that up?
Oh, yeah, you can do that as well. So you can play around with it. But yeah, you could also just leave it as a plain kind of more circle. There's different, you
could go back in and color this bottom part with a different green or a darker green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just more options.
Yay. Thank you guys. Awesome.
Hey.
I'll see you, Gina. Yeah, so I will be at Firefly Farm early May. I think May 3rd through the 5th. Don't quote me on the dates, but very early May. I'll be teaching in-person classes, exclusive classes to Firefly Farm. So if you are in Minnesota or in driving distance, definitely check it out. Melissa said your lettuce is glued to your head.
Probably.
Yay. Deborah says, looking forward to what you will have for us next. Yeah, I'll have to think about let me know in the chat if you guys would love to see the Distress watercolor pencils in our summer Create with Us. Let me know. Because I haven't designed those yet. It's on my to-do list for next week. Got some ideas brewing. Yay, yay, yay.
I'm going to throw the learning achievements guidelines out for your preschool teacher by allowing Miles to play with arty stuff.
Well, that's like I mentioned, Chris is away because his daughter has her art exhibit for college this weekend. And Chris and I have been together for 11 years now. So I think Kate was 14, 13. Oh, no, she was actually younger. She was 12 when we first started dating. And she's always been artistic, incredibly artistic. And I gave her all good Prismacolor pencils, a good set of Copics, all this stuff right from the get-go. I'm I'm not buying her a cheap, arts and crafts set when she's sketching these gorgeous things. So
her art is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I told Chris to take all the pictures so I could see. Oh my gosh, I love them, Kelly. Yay!
It turned out so fun. Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited. That makes me so happy, because you did that with me guiding you.
I know. I'm so happy with them. And the two that turned out weird, I just, like you said, put the not so wet brush on it and just I undid the weirdness.
It's really so forgiving. It's so forgiving. Especially if you've colored with alcohol-based markers for a long time, I think you're going to find the more you use the Distress watercolor pencils, how freeing it is, because it really is forgiving. And it doesn't mean you abandon your alcohol-based markers altogether. I love the mix of, the coloring with the watercoloring. I think it looks really pretty together.
You've stenciled with traditional inks. You've done the Distress watercolor, and then you have the Copic markers, and it looks seamless. And that's 3 different kind of techniques, Yeah. It's so fun.
Yay!
And the splatters look so cool. I love it.
Yeah, it looks like some people would like some more watercolor pencil stuff. So awesome. Yay. Well, definitely, if you are inspired to try more stuff out, check out my online class. I would love for you guys to check that out because they're really, really fun. Lots of information in all of my online classes, but the Distress Technique ones are jam-packed. And again, I'll be releasing a second part of that class really soon. I've been working on all that stuff. I actually can't wait to show Josie some of the stuff I've been coming up with. And yeah, I would just love to have you guys be part of my online classes as well. Do you want to chat
sure.
about the garden mouse set one more time, Kelly?
Yes, I would. So we have currently, I'll grab the stamp set. Although I don't have Miles doing his, he was really good at showing everybody everything.
I
So
know.
it's our special garden mouse event. And what we've done is partner with our incredible local brick and mortar independent stores to offer this as a free gift with purchase, $60 US, 70 in Canada. And so this is a free gift with purchase, but they also do have, which we never do this with when we do gift with purchase sets, but they will have the coordinating die also available for purchase too, which is really great. So this die is available for purchase. This is the free gift. And this little garden mouse, she is so cute. And the cards with her turn out adorable. And she's a really fun mix to a lot of the products from our spring release. Like this is the build a greenhouse die. The flower garden backdrop would be beautiful. The veggie happy mice that we did today are so cute to mix and match. All of our mice mix and match in such a fun way. And my favorite part of the set are the little flowers. I just love the
People
little
have been chatting about how excited they are about just that little daffodil alone.
Daffodil. I know, it's so cute. I love it so much. So it's just such a fun set, and it's such a fun way to not only support your local store, but to get to know your local store. We've already had quite a few people tell me, I didn't even know there was a store that close to me, or I'm going to make an extra special trip to my store. If you don't have a store close to you, call the one closest to you. Learn more about them. I'm sure they can help you out to get this set. And they may have an amazing event coming up soon that you might be willing to drive for, because maybe it would be an awesome class or something too. So definitely check them out, learn more about them. They're absolutely amazing. And we're going to be having a lot of fun Thor reels, cute news. If you ever little fake news broadcasts, we're doing that with a lot of the stores. So keep a lookout for those as well. And I'll share, this is Miles's card he made.
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely share Miles's card again. Just put it a little bit higher because of the banner I have up on the screen.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
there
so
it is.
Cute.
This is Miles's card that he made. And so he wanted everyone to know that he hid the other pot is behind this dirt here.
I love
he was
it.
Trying to
yeah, so cute.
And so anyways, it's such a fun promo. We'll link to, the link that has more information about it. So you can see the store locator to see all the participating stores. And we're just so excited about it.
Yeah. And I did see a question go by. Somebody asked what the difference between the distress watercolor pencils versus other watercolors. I think maybe you mean other watercolor pencils, like kind of comparing the two. There's not like necessarily this magical thing about distress watercolor pencils. Something I didn't really get into is distress watercolor pencils are a woodless watercolor pencil, meaning they're not encased by an outer wood shell. So there's a lot of fun techniques you can do because of that, like dipping the pencil in water. And obviously there's more pigment to them because there isn't any wood around them. But it's also just knowing if you love distress colors in general and you're familiar with that palette, you're like, oh yeah, I love salvage patina, I love peacock feathers. Just knowing that palette when you're coloring with the watercolor pencils is nice and convenient. So they're not necessarily different per se. I think even Tim Holtz had mentioned that during the intro. It's not like these are these magical things, but it's just nice to have that palette that we all know and love. And of course, there's the inks and the paints and they all coordinate together and it just makes it really fun.
For sure.
Awesome. Yay. I love
and
that
also,
the tiny mouse, it helps make a whole family. I think that's so cute.
I know, right? The little baby, he's so cute. We have a cute thing so we have a release on May 16th. And for that release on May 16th, there is a cute tiny mouse thing in it that you guys are going to love. And so all of that will start on May 8th will be our inspiration week for that. So we'll definitely keep an eye out. We're going to have such a good time. We'll be doing live chats, so premiere live chats with our intro videos. So it's kind of like this where we're typing in the chat, but we're watching the intro video as it goes live. So that's really, really fun too. And we'll make sure we'll put out all the information in the blog and in our newsletter and on social media for all of these things.
Yay. And if you created along with us tonight, whether you were making veggies or making Santa Claus cards, we don't care. We just want to see what you did. Be sure to tag Lawn Fawn and feel free to tag me, Jen Shirkus, as well. It's just helpful for us to be able to find you. You can use the hashtag LFCreateWithUs, but Instagram's kind of being a pain in the butt with hashtags lately. But definitely tag us because we absolutely love to see what you've created. Again, I know people were substituting supplies for what they had, and we love that. We just want you guys to create and use your goodies in fun ways. So we can't wait to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right. Anything else we need to chat about, Miss Kelly?
I think, there's a good question. Let me answer that one. Is the
Yep.
summer release just May or spread over multiple months? So the release comes out in May, but we will have inspiration weeks in May, June, and July. It's a big release and we're putting it all out in May. Throughout COVID times and stuff, sometimes our summer release got split differently. This time it's all in May. So it'll all be available in May, but we're going to feature it in inspiration weeks and to Create With Us in May, June, and July. So make sure to keep an eye out for all of that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And the thing I love about Lawn Fawn releases is even though some of them are bigger releases, and of course we want it all, it's not going away. Like even if Lawn Fawn sells out, they restock really quickly, but you don't have to feel like you have to buy it all on release day. Like that's what's so awesome about those inspiration weeks spread out like that, is they really give you time to like see how a set or a die works. And then you can kind of treat yourself over the months, like a little bit every month. I think that's so great.
Yeah, and the inspiration weeks are there to just get us to continue to craft, give lots of inspiration. That's why we do Create With Us too. We want to be crafting with our supplies and enjoying the ones that maybe we bought on release day. You can keep learning more and more about them as we go through our inspiration weeks and our Create With Us classes and Jen's incredible classes as well.
Yeah, love it. Oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. I forgot to tease the upcoming class that I have this summer. Remember I texted you about it?
That's right. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. The light bulb just went off. But so I definitely saw in the comments that people want me to use distress watercolor pencils in the next Create With Us. So I will do my best to come up with some fun, creative ways to use them. But I also wanted to let you guys know that this summer I will be also releasing a new online class called Beachcomber, and it's using the How You Bean seashell add-on with the original set, the jar with the little seashells that fill it, and it's all distress watercolor pencils. So it's another fun class that I will be releasing. It's actually a class that I taught in person at my Crop on the Cape event that I just did in March. So I actually have extra kits that I'm going to have available for sale. And it'll be a fun way for us to get together and celebrate all the things that I love. Ocean, and more ocean, and distress watercolor pencils. So definitely watch for details about that too. All right.
Yes, so people say they love inspiration weeks. And someone's asking when the next Create With Us is. I actually don't know if we solidified that day.
Solidified that yet.
Which is partly why I was asking people what day it should be. It's just
an email that we have.
Yes, but I promise that we'll get it done soon. I was trying to see also kind of what days everybody likes. So maybe we'll do another little poll like on Instagram or something.
Real quick before you answer the part 2 of that question, I just want to remind everybody on release day, we release all the information for Create With Us. So right away, you can see the date and the time. You can download the handout right away. Because some people even just make the cards on their own, although we love when you join us. But you get the full handout so you can start preparing. You'll know what supplies we're using. So maybe that will kind of help you decide what to purchase on release day. So always check that out. It's always available at the time of release on Lawn Fun's website. But you can go ahead and answer that part 2 of that question.
Oh, yes. And then she was wondering, how old is Miles? So Miles is almost 4. He'll be 4 at the end of May, which I can't believe. It's wild.
I'm not understanding that.
Yeah,
So
I can't process it. He's my teeny tiny little baby. But yes, he's going to be 4 at the end of May. So, and I'm already planning. Hopefully he doesn't change his theme yet, but the theme is octopus, jellyfish, seahorse.
Ooh, yay.
Last year it was seahorse, fox, and owl.
Which did not work.
It turned out super
It's
cute.
very cute, but it was.
But now everybody lives in the ocean, so we'll see. So that's
Oh my gosh. I'm so
Working
sad.
on
I
all
want to
this.
be there.
I know.
Shari's gonna be here, right?
Yep, Shari's gonna be here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So so I'm excited. I'm gonna start. But then he announced that he wants a rainbow cake, so I gotta figure out how to make that. But
I can make it for you, but it will not be sugar-free, healthy.
I don't do sugar free. I don't like sugar free,
It'll
but
be
I do
all
the like hippie. I do the dyes, like the natural food dyes. I do the natural food
I
dyes.
will gladly make you a rainbow cake.
I made
I say Auntie Rebecca can make whatever the heck she wants for Miles.
Yes, but I did make blue food dye with like kitchen science for his first birthday, because you can boil down red cabbage and then add baking soda and it turns
And it
into
was
blue.
a delicious cake. It was delicious.
Linda just said, look at Jen's face. I know she wants to go. Yeah, as soon as you said the theme, I'm like,
I know.
lights.
I know.
It's too hard. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's really expensive to fly.
I know. I feel bad that he has like a holiday birthday,
Oh, I get it. I mean, my birthday is right around Mother's Day. So like 98% of my friends, like as soon as they started having children, could not hang out with me anymore. So
yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, sorry, he's got a holiday birthday, but that's okay. He was supposed to be born 2 weeks earlier, but he got
it's all good.
He shares a birthday with his grandpa, so that's
so awesome. That's so awesome. Mary says she makes her shopping list once she's seen what sets will be featured in Create With Us and in my classes. Good job, Mary.
And Elisa says that the natural food dyes are so much better for you. She understands.
They're fine. They just don't make the bright colors. And,
Shari said sounds terrible. I think she's talking about natural food dyes too.
Oh, probably.
Shari, you and I, okay? You and I are taking over this party and we're going to make it all poison.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I know it's really late for East Coast and it's getting late for West Coast.
Yeah, I know. We appreciate you guys so much for being here with us and for creating with us. It's the best. These always just, they make my heart so happy. So thank you guys for being here. And it looks like we might have another.
Well, somebody said they would really like enamel pins to come back.
Oh yeah,
So
that's something we can start working on that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but we appreciate you guys so much. This has been such a blast, and I already can't wait for the next one. And like Jen said, on release day, May 16th, we will release the next Create With Us information. But Jen already has information about not only her current classes, but also the incredible discount that she has on the little thing right here about her watercolor pencils class. So make sure to check that out too.
Thank you guys so much. Have a fabulous weekend.
Yes, thank you.